Hey internets, it's Jake from Mini Terrain Domain, and this is now the Dawnbringers for Day 5, Game 4 of Jasper's Game Week. Now, a lot of you don't know this, but these 6 amazing people are my regular Thursday night D&D group. We are usually here on Thursday nights, actually just about this time. We're only 15 minutes after when we normally play, for a Dawnbringers campaign. For tonight, for this game, we are doing something a little special. And there are going to be plenty of opportunities. I know we blew that goal out of the water and that phantom goal. I'm not going to pressure you. I've got Dwight and Stonefly Kai and the others in chat that are going to be seeing if we can move that up a little bit more. And if we do move it up more, we'll make some cool things happen. But we're going to have fun tonight. I've been looking forward to this game all week. They are all playing their characters from Dawnbringers, who are all level 10, but I've asked them to reflavor them with a little bit of a Western flair, as we are playing in a very loosely, and probably only in name, in a setting called Caldera, which, if you want to know more about Caldera, you're going to want to check out Jeremy, aka Erasmus Expeditions, channel on YouTube. That is a setting of his own design. I am so excited for this. This game is something that I've run once before under a different name and once for my home group. It is called Professor Charlemagne Latan's Magical Miracle Beard Oil. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to turn it over to the players to really quickly tell us who you are and tell us who your character is within the Caldera setting. And we're going to start with Scotty.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Normally in our Thursday night games, I am a paladin named Griffith Langsmore, but I am going to be a padre in this setting. So I will be a holy man and see if I can bring God to these heathens, and gonna see how it works out. So I think that's all I'm going to start with.
All right. Next up, we've got Dan.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dan Dillon. I'm a game designer at Wizards of the Coast on the D&D team, and tonight I'll be playing Drown, the Goliath Warlock. He's a warlock of the Lurker in the Deep patron, which was a playtest option that we've sent out for test, and I'm giving it a spin to see how it goes. So far, it's been a lot of fun. And tonight, Drown is usually sort of a laconic outsider weirdo. Tonight, he's going to be a dapper riverboat captain, so this will be a fun change.
Next up is V.
Hello, I'm V Muse. You might know me from my YouTube channel, The Crafting Muse, and I am also a WizKids PR and marketing rep. And normally I play Cantriel Cavatina, who's this very snippy bard, but tonight she's going to take on a slightly different flavor.
I can't wait to see. Next up is probably, I'm going to just say, is the Mini Terrain Domain MVP. They have been on this channel in more games, and I've been on in more games of theirs, I think. We've played together more than anybody else, I'll put it that way. M from Dice on Ice.
Hi everyone, I'm M. I run the YouTube channel Dice on Ice, where we do live plays, including Curse of Strahd that we're running right now, that Jake is also in. And tonight I will be playing Fig, who is a construct warlock, and tonight he will be putting down his flasks and vials and instead be picking up tumblers and cold ale. So can't wait to get into it.
Looking forward to that. Next up, we've got Ted.
How you doing? I'm Ted from Nerdarchy, for Nerds by Nerds. Normally, I play Thorgarn, a multi-class barbarian cleric paladin, and tonight he's going to be reflavored in the total Western style, and he comes ready to shoot.
Fantastic. And last and certainly not least is my good friend Jeremy.
Yes. Hello, everybody. My name is Jeremy. I have a YouTube channel called The Erasmus Expeditions, where I do a lot of live plays like this, also videos where I interview people and talk about RPGs. I should be hitting my 200th video on the end of the month here, so I'm very excited for that. I'm also going to try really hard to curb my language. I apologize in advance. Sorry, because I'm stepping into the boots of Talmud Gedaon, who is typically a dwarven barbarian of very stereotypical qualities. And tonight he is going to be more of an outlaw known as Ghostface.
Excellent. And so we are now going to actually, because it feels wrong to not do this, I do have to say, before we get started in this game, the whole point that we're here this week, and this is something I do before every single game, is you need to know, those of you that are watching, whether you're watching us live now or watching us play later, yeah, we're playing some silly D&D, we're having fun, and trust me, it's going to get crazy, it's going to get silly, but you matter. You make a difference. Your presence on this earth makes a difference, whether you believe it or not. And that is why at any time, not just during Jasper's Game Week, but anytime, you can come to Mini Terrain Domain, you can type !help in the chat, and these phone numbers will pop up. Excuse me. In the United States, you can call the National Suicide Lifeline at 1-800-273-TALK. That's 1-800-273-8255. Or you can text 741-741. In Canada, you can reach the crisis text line by texting Connect in English or Parlay in French to 686-868. Or you can call the Canada Suicide Prevention Services in French or English at 1-833-456-4566. There is also a link there at opencounseling.com/suicide-hotlines that has lots of great resources for all of our friends around the world. There. Now it feels normal. Normally we have a D&D Beyond overlay for this, but we haven't been able to have that up for this whole thing for technical reasons. So you'll just have to trust that these characters are who they say they are. We now enter the world of Caldera. Just outside of the town of Prospect, we have an otherwise dusty, dry town with most of anything that comes in and out of this town coming up the river. And it just so happens, as we pan down and we see at river's level, just on the outskirts of town, we see a lone frog sitting on a log, croaking away. And as he croaks, we look behind him, and up the river come chugging a big old riverboat coming in to the town of Prospect, chugging along and heading right up along that bank to that dock. A couple of the locals that work the river here outside of Prospect are standing by to hook onto the edge and tie her off. Drown, I want you to tell me what the name of your riverboat is.
Why, she's the Evangeline, of course.
Of course she is. The Evangeline emblazoned in bold.
Excuse me. Not the Evangeline, mind you. Just Evangeline.
Just Evangeline. Evangeline emblazoned in beautiful scripted letters, the paint perhaps a bit chipping along the side of this riverboat. As the boat is secured to the edge of the dock, I imagine you're in the off season, so you don't have a whole lot going on here. You've come to the town of Prospect hoping to maybe secure a few gamblers and drinkers and maybe some people to take a ride up and down the river. But you've all been stuck on this boat for a while. It's been a trip, about a week's trip up the river. It's been hot. It's been muggy. Things are cooling off a little bit as you hit Prospect. Who's the first person off the boat?
I mean, it has to be Talmud, because He really wants back on solid ground as soon as possible, but he's not making any kind of noise about it. He's very stoic, very laconic. His hat is kind of pulled down low, and it's made from black dragon hide, kind of the leather after the scales have been removed from it. And there's an alternating row of black and white dragon teeth that are fitted into the hat band around his head. And draped over his shoulders in a very distinctive Dorathian weave, the indigenous peoples of the Caldera, is a red and yellow poncho that smells a little bit of wood smoke and the smoke of cactus buttons with every step that he takes. His boots make this kind of tinkle, this cold sound of like crackling ice with every step that he takes. And we see that he leaves frosted footprints behind him as he walks. And the spurs are silver, but they're shaped like the jaws of winter wolves. He kind of steps down this gangplank onto the dock, kind of raises his hat just enough to see, kind of looks one way up the street, down the other way. He pulls out a big fat cigar, pulls it like halfway into his teeth, like almost all the way back in his cheek. Doesn't bother lighting it. Just starts rolling it around in his teeth and chewing on it. I need a drink. He's going to start heading to the saloon.
Who is the next one off the boat after Talmud?
Probably be Cantriel. Well, if you wanted a drink, you could have just stayed on the boat. Fig is known for the rather interesting concoctions.
I imagine about that time, Fig, you appear. You know, Fig, that your supplies have been running low. You've been cutting the whiskey with water more and more each day.
When you see Fig, you see a very, very rusted, almost to the point of, you can see some of the green in it from the copper that is fitted on him. He has this face that is blank, save for some sort of black paint that has been drawn on as a very smirky smiley face, a sly grin across, and a hat, a large wide brim hat covering it. He walks out and he tries, you can see, to imitate Talmud's kind of walk, the way he leans from one way to another, even maybe putting hands on the edge of his belt. I also need a drink. I'm parched. You can see this horrible accent, and it's just like this. Fig has been on a trying to mimic some of the people. Perhaps it is out of boredom from a long trip, as he kind of walks out.
All right.
So Thorgarn, not trying to hide, but for the most part, staying back enough, but he's not letting his cousin out of his sights. So he's allowing Talmud, his younger cousin, to walk off the boat, but he's keeping him in sights. As a lawman in these parts, he knows his cousin wherever he goes is usually up to no good. And while he can't get him out of trouble, he's trying to get him in as little trouble as possible. It's what you got to do when you've got, a younger family member that just has gone down the wrong path. So he's kind of off to the side and just staying, a casual distance.
Thorgarn, are you wearing your badge?
Indeed, sir, I am.
Very good. Good to know. Good to know. All right. I imagine it's probably going to be Griveth who comes down next, as the riverboat captain most likely is going to make sure everybody else is off first. So Griveth, what do we see as you're heading down?
Yeah, with Griveth, you've noticed on the boat that he always has his holy book nearby, because this is a den of iniquity that he's been sailing on, right? So he'll read passages from his book, he'll pull up the holy symbol, kiss it, and when you see Griveth come off, he's always got his face in his book, but he has this long black coat with shiny black buttons, a high collar, and a big black wide-brimmed hat, a tall kind of hat, conical hat. And as he walks off, he reaches into his coat to feel something that he has hidden there that the others have never seen.
Well, that'll certainly be interesting to see how that plays out. Well, your crew is disembarked, drowned, and it's now okay for you to head off the boat. Who do we see hitting the shoreline?
All right. Once all of the passengers have disembarked and all of the crew are about their business or attending to their leave if their business is completed, the massive silhouette of Captain Drown steps out onto deck, and if he moved too fast, you suspect the boat might, as large as it is, be in danger of capsizing. He's almost 8 feet tall, easily weighs probably in the range of 500 pounds, huge broad shoulders. He's a Goliath. So he has chalk pale skin, and there are tattoos, black, peeking out from under the collar of his double-breasted dark navy captain's coat with polished brass buttons that reach up past his neck, across his face, and then from from his cuffs across his hands. And they look like twining strips of river grass, just done in black. He has a string tie around his neck, and he has a silver pocket watch that he is watching and clicks closed and tucks into the pocket with its fob, keeping it affixed to the buttons, and shiny black shoes as he walks long, slow strides onto the gangplank that creaks in protest under his weight as he settles down to the river shore. He looks around, takes a deep breath, and leans on the white, bleached driftwood cane that he always carries with him. Looks around, nods to the last few bits of crew, and offers a warm smile to any of the passengers who are still nearby as they make their way out.
Being as it's the off season, you only got about a dozen passengers that were making do with watered down whiskey and watered down stew and whatever else you could scrounge up for them as you were heading for a new supply. Many of them were just looking to book passage here and made do with the weak whiskey and weak soup.
That simply will not do. Fig. He'll stride over toward the, you're the barkeep, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. He'll walk over and draw out a small purse and hand it over and say, spend as much of this as you can. Get us some fine quality provisions, and for the love of God, restock what's behind that bar.
You see a Fig kind of like tip his hat. I'll be faster than a flea on a... And he kind of thinks, and he looks over and he sees there's some pigs, there's some I'll be faster than a flea on whatever that is. And he starts off.
As you take a metallic step forward, that frog that was sitting on that log just croaks and jumps into the water. This motley group starts heading off with different tasks in mind. As you're walking up the dusty road that leads into the town proper, you can't help but notice there's an abundance of street urchins. And I imagine every one of you is having the same thought cross your mind as you see this group of street urchins coming, running down the road. Do those kids have beards? Because sure enough, about every third kid in this group is sporting a beard in a different style and in a different color. Leading the group is a girl of about 14 years old, human. She's got a long curly beard that drapes down around her knees. She's tied pink, red, and blue ribbons up inside it. She's got beads all braided into it. She's holding it in one hand, lazily swinging it around as she comes running up to Talmud, who's at the head of the group there. She looks you dead in the eye, Talmud, and says, "Mister, you're new in town. I ain't never seen a hat like that."
Talmud looks up in what should be amazement, but isn't. Instead, it's gleaming approval. He kind of rocks back on his heels and he says, "You know, there ain't a lot of towns that I like traveling in. I think I'm going to like this one just fine."
A couple more kids are looping in around all of you. They seem to be giving Drown a bit of a berth, wide berth. A couple of the kids walking around Griffith, looking up at Griffith. "Ooh, a holy man, a holy man." Uh-oh. They see Thorgarn. "Looks like there's new law in town. Sheriff ain't gonna like that." A couple of them come running up to Fig. Another kid looks like he's about 7 years old. He's got a long, twirly mustache and a single goatee. Comes down about 6 inches, and it is bright red. He's holding a stick in his hand, and he comes running up to you, Fig, with a stick. Tink, tink, tink on your legs. "Are you made of metal? I ain't never seen a metal man before. That's a big hat you got. Hey, metal man, can I have your hat?" Fig, I need you to make a charisma saving throw.
Oh.
You know what? I did not pull my dice out. I'm gonna grab a set of dice here.
Whoopsie.
I forgot. I've been producing D&D all week, and this is the first game I get to play.
You've been busy. You've had things to do.
And I'm just gonna show off to all of these extra viewers here. We got this amazing. They're probably not going to show up well because of the green screen. This amazing set of D6 Dawnbringer dice provided to us by our friend Ted. He provided them to all of the Dawnbringers. I'll be using those for some of these D6 rolls tonight.
I think technically speaking, according to the rules, Dan, correct me if I'm wrong, but since you didn't have your dice ready, I think it actually goes in Im's favor. I'm pretty sure that's what it says.
I'll tell you what, that's not how it's working tonight.
Dungeon
Also,
Master's
you know
choice.
what? You know what? I need somebody to be keeping me up in the chat because we're selling domain dice for $100 a pop, and I know for a fact we're at least $200 up. So you guys got 2 domain dice. You guys know how those work. I don't got to explain how that goes. Fig, how'd you do on that dexterity saving throw? I said, give me that hat, man.
I got a 7.
Fig, you have no compulsion whatsoever. You want to give this kid your hat. Like, it's the best idea he's ever had.
Well, of course. And like Fig just takes it off and hands it down. You know, that color really matches with your beard.
Why do you think I wanted it? This is great. And he pulls it down and it falls right over his head. And he actually disappears. Fig, tell people that don't know why this boy disappears for a moment almost completely inside your hat.
Oh no. In previous Dawnbringer multiverse, Fig received a hat of holding from a wizard.
Indeed. And it takes him a minute and he's like, oh, there's so much stuff in here. And he takes off running. You all hear, just as the girl standing in front of you, Talmud, just as she's about to say, you know what? I think I want your hat.
You
A
touch
shadow.
my hat, I'll shoot you dead.
A shadow comes over all of you. As a massive figure steps in from a side alley, standing right next to Cantriel, standing right next to Drown, and actually equals Drown, at least in size. Now, what this individual who has stepped out is a massive dragonborn. Whoever among you is the first to say so. In fact, I'm going to leave it to chat. Chat, real quick, tell me what color dragonborn is this that has just stepped out into the street. We'll find out in a minute here. But this dragonborn steps out into the street. First thing I see from Undead King is it's a black dragonborn. Black scales glistening, and he is eyeballing you, squinting at you, Talmud, with that black scale hat you got on your head. But he looks at all of you, and he's eyeballing you, Thorgarn, because you can see gleaming in the sunlight. He wears a sheriff's badge.
Okay. Cantriel is going to flip into Draconic and give her little bustle a twitch to make sure it's on straight and smooth out the velvet of her bodice and smile charmingly. Well, I haven't seen one of your kind in quite a while, and I must say it is much to my pleasure that I can finally practice my Draconian for a little bit.
I find it interesting how you are able to put on that affected accent in Draconic.
It takes lots of talent.
You can save your flirtations.
Honey, it's not flirtations, it's a lifestyle.
Well, I'm having none of it.
And in common, he says to you, Thorgarn,
I don't know who you are.
and he looks around at all of you, and he kind of gives an appreciative nod at Drown for a moment.
I don't know who you all are, where you come from. You're a motley group at best. You best not be causing any trouble. I'm the sheriff here in Prospect, and if you cross Sheriff Meepo, it's gonna be bad luck.
That's a deep cut there for the Dawnbringers.
Well, partner, I can assure you that I will not be getting into trouble. And, of course, I respect the law. As a sheriff in these parts, you can have my word that I will reckon do whatever you need.
Well,
sidelong glance over at Talmud to, see how he's reacting to such things.
He says, kind of puts his hands up and like as a sign of no contest. I'm not looking for trouble, but if there happens to be any, I mean, it might not be a bad idea to match some boots for my hat.
You're already walking a thin line.
He starts.
I can assure you, Sheriff, that any of my crew that run afoul of your law had best pray that you deal with them before I do. If you have any trouble with them, don't hesitate to come to me.
You hear that, Talmud? Looks like there'll be a line setting up to come after you. And he looks down at his shorter cousin, and just kind of wraps the holster on his belt.
You got it, boss man. You got it.
He leans over. He looks at you, Griveth, and he just gives a nod with a talon, reaches up to his hat and says, "Padre." Reaches around to that little boy that has your hat, Fig, and with just a quick flick, pulls it off the kid's head, who quickly scampers away, hands it back to you.
I say, I believe this belongs to you. You're going to want to keep a close hand on your belongings while you're in Prospect. You go about your business. I assume you're here for a resupply, Captain. I expect your crew to behave themselves and you to keep 'em in line. If not, I'm gonna hold you accountable. And he rests his hand on a rather large revolver sitting in his holster. He turns once again, gives you a look, Griffith.
Padre.
And turns and walks up the street, shooing the kids away. All right, what would you like to do now?
Fig, you've seen this before. Fig takes almost like a bar cloth, what it looks like, and he wipes away the smile on his face, and he takes a bit of black paint and does like a little squiggly line in like a very concerned face. Well, that was a warm welcome.
Can M get inspiration for that, please?
Absolutely.
Padre Griffith wants to kind of do double time and catch up to the sheriff for a moment. He's like, Sheriff, I want to assure you that I am not with these hooligans, but I do have a question for you.
Yes, Father.
As you can see, I really like to keep my facial hair in nice patterns and shapes, and you can see he's got like his mustache is waxed. It's like curled in on itself. He's got like, it's black. He's dyed it, black, and it's just perfectly cut. And he says something about how the goddess loves a man with a nice bit of facial hair. But I am confused, Sheriff. Why do these kids have facial hair? Why are these children sporting facial hair? That is not required of the goddess.
There's a little, to be perfectly honest with you, it's a little outside of my understanding. There's a little I understand about the human and human-like races. The dwarves I understand like their facial hair, but I can't tell a child from a dwarf, from a gnome, from a halfling. But if you're looking for questions about beards, beard accessories, well, you're just going to want to keep your eyes peeled for that Professor Charlemagne Latan. He looks up at the sun, looks down at the shadow on the ground, and he says, I expect he'll be rolling into town with his beard oil wagon any day, any time now.
Oh, fantastic. I spend at least 1 or 2 hours a day working on it.
It's 1 or 2 hours wasted, in my opinion.
But look how brilliant it looks.
I'll just have to take your word for that, Padre. If you'll excuse me, I got business to attend to.
Oh, Sheriff, yeah, don't let me keep you.
He
Praise be.
He heads off, and that teenage girl with the long beard with the ribbons in it seems to be kind of lingering around, and he just yells after her, Larissa, if I have to tell your mom what you're up to, it's gonna be bad luck. As they head off down the street. So, Dawnbringers, you all are moving in to, I'm still going to call you Dawnbringers. It's a habit I have. As y'all are heading into Prospect proper, you come in from between a couple of buildings and you see what you would expect to see, a little bit different than you'd expect, where you would expect maybe neat rows with buildings on either side of the thoroughfare. Instead, what you see is all of the buildings seem to be arranged in a loose circle. All of the town centers around a common central courtyard. Homesteads are out on the outskirts and seem to go further away from the river. And you can see a variety of houses or buildings, and you see a saloon. In fact, you see 2 saloons on either side of the common area. You can see a bank, and you can see a general goods store. There's a middle-aged woman setting up a bunch of vegetables in a stand out front. And it's got a neatly lettered sign on her front window. It says, Vi's Vegetables and Herbs. She's setting up in front of that shop there. And you see
young teenage boy with a rather scraggly red beard and hair, voice cutting above the rest of the town. All right, man, Vi, what did you want next? I'm trying to get all the rutabagas and all the carrots and cabbages and what else you need? And you just hear her say, Baron, Baron, Baron. And start directing him on where he needs to go and what he needs to do. There's a little bit of bustle of activity going on here in the midst of town. And you do notice, as you all look around, there is a rather inordinate number of beards of various colors and styles among all the folk of this town. And on the dwarves, of course, it doesn't seem unusual at all, but the children, well, that's a bit peculiar. And, well, there is one or two halflings sporting very fanciful beards. That is very unusual. Doesn't matter who they are. They have beards. What would you all like to do as you're now in the proper area of Prospect? Are y'all going to move somewhere together, or are you going to head off on different tasks?
Well, I, for one, certainly after that encounter, most definitely need a drink that isn't cut with river water. Fig, let us find one of the more reputable emporiums, shall we?
I think so. And Fig just wipes his face off very quickly and just does a grin again and just lead the way, boss.
So you said there was 2 saloons, right?
There are 2 saloons.
Do they have any noticeable difference between them in their just sort of quality or their vibe?
Why don't you go ahead and give me a little bit of a either investigation or perception as you try to determine which looks to be the more reputable.
We are most definitely going with investigation, and that would be a 19.
Well, you see that there are 2 taverns that are very similar in style. The one of them is called, it has an emblazoned on the side of it, it has the shadow of what looks like some kind of citadel, and it's called Where the Sun Don't Shine. The other one has a anvil silhouetted on a burst of flame, and it's called the Furious Forge. The Furious Forge looks to be the more reputable of the 2, but it's entirely up to you if you'd rather go where the sun don't shine.
I will definitely turn my steps toward the Furious Forge.
As they do so, Talmud kind of like puts his hand out and stops Thorgarn short, and he waits till the others are kind of like out of earshot, and he kind of leans over. What does that word mean? Reputable. What's that? What's he
That's
talking
what
about?
you ain't, cousin.
And that's where he's going.
Yes.
He kind of turns and he heads towards where the sun don't shine.
So he reaches out for Talmud and be like, well, true, but there's going to be better alcohol over here.
All right. He just kind of pivots on the heel of like one of those ice-covered boots and makes his way after the captain, after all.
That didn't take too much convincing, did it?
Nope.
I ain't in the mood.
Would you care for a drink, Miss Cantrell?
Absolutely.
Well then, he kind of offers his arm to Cantrell and then, pauses his step, and then, assuming she takes it,
Oh,
leads
yeah,
the way to the tavern.
She totally like slips her arm and she's like the whole like flirtatious batting the lashes and a big smile on her face. Let's do.
So you all are heading off that way towards the Furious Forge. And Cantriel, you notice as you all enter into the saloon that next door is a bookstore. And the shopkeep is setting up a display in the window of the bookstore, and it looks to be a brand new novel that has just come out. You see two lovers across the cover with flame behind them. The newest novel by Griffith Knight, Hot Brimstone.
Oh, I hear that one's pandering again to get more publishing on his belt. Absolute drivel. And she kind of just like makes that little tick sound and keeps heading towards the saloon instead, especially if there's music playing.
Most of these are inside jokes for the players. These, you have to watch the Dawnbringers to really get a lot of these. There have been a lot of deep cuts dropped here already, and we're not even into the saloon yet. So I'm going to say at this point, especially with the way everybody said they were moving, it's probably Drown and Cantriel that are entering the Furious Forge first. And you head on into through the swinging doors, and we just got another domain die thanks to Acrace. Acrace? However you say it, thank you for that $100 donation. You head into the bar, and the moment you walk into the bar, I need, I'm going to say either one of you can make the save, but you're going to do it at advantage because the two of you are standing close together. As a drunkard stumbles towards you with a tankard full of ale, Drown or Cantriel, make a dex save.
I think with
the
my
Bard
+7,
Ranger wants to make the
+7 advantage. Yeah, let's work with that, shall we?
By all means.
Lovely. Well, that's going to be a nice round 18.
So as this drunk gentleman, he's looks to be a little heavy set. He has a salt and pepper gray beard. He wears wire rimmed spectacles, and he sort of stumbles heavily into you, spilling his tankard a bit. How do you stop him? How do you avoid him completely colliding into you?
Basically, just like, she's used to this, being the entertainment on the boat. She's used to the drunken stumbles. So she basically is just able to sort of put a hand out and sort of like right on the sternum. Whoops-a-daisy there, darling. You seem to think that you have some sea legs when that's not necessarily the case.
He stumbles back a bit. Well, I never thought I'd see. What is there, 2 of you?
Sometimes, yes. Other times, maybe 4. Depends on the evening.
Well, aren't you a very nice looking elf, Puddin'? It is absolutely. Well, all of y'all certainly brighten up this place.
I can make it brighter if you need it to.
Don't mind me, I'm just enjoying the Furious Forge. Sing me a song. The flowers smell good today. I walk in the garden, an apple from milk.
He falls over. Twitch, you paid for that.
Cantriel's going to look over to Drown. I think he just sang a song I've never heard before.
And the barkeep looks up, and it's a woman, looks to be in about maybe her mid-20s. She's got reddish hair, sort of tied back. I do apologize. Gonna have to excuse old Jacob there. He's a little too much into his cups these days. Old Jacob on the floor next to you just goes, and rolls over. You are able to easily step over the drunken Jacob on the floor and make your way into the tavern proper. You see a handful of patrons in here, and of course the young human bartender there. You going for the bar? You all gonna go get a table?
To start with, probably the bar. And then if it looks like there's a table that I won't destroy, then...
There's a sort of off to the side. There are a couple of trestle tables that have look like they're made of thick oaken benches next to them that look like they could probably support your weight. As you head up to the bar and you get closer to the bar, the young woman just sort of looks up at you, and she doesn't seem too perturbed by your size, but just the fact that she's got to look up at you, Drown. Well, I ain't never seen any of you around these parts. Name's Hannah Wrist. I run this place. What can I do for you?
It's a pleasure to meet you, Miss Rest. Yes, it's quite uncommon for any of my folk to be plying the river. Be that as it may, my friends and I, Big, don't straggle behind, come on now, would like something strong and cold if you can manage it to drink. And then after that, we perhaps could talk some more business about restocking our woefully bedraggled wares on my boat.
Well, I'll tell you, you certainly came into the right place. Not only do I run this tavern here, I'm in charge of the supplies and the shipping, and yeah, we could work something out. Ain't too often somebody wants something cold to drink, but yeah, I can make do.
And fortune has smiled on all of us, then, it seems. And I'll lay a short stack of gold coins and slide them across the bar.
She expertly grabs a stack of cups and just sort of lines them all up along the bar, and grabs a couple bottles and a couple pitchers and starts pouring some stuff in. And you notice as she does it, she stabilizes each cup with her other hand. And as the liquid pours in, there's a and a bit of cold mist sort of rolls away, and you see just a very light blue arcane energy play across her fingertips as she magically cools your drinks and places them before you.
Grievous steps on a box in the bar and says, "Attention, sinners!
Ignore that
Attention,
one.
Padre! There will
I
be
am
no
the new Padre in
proselytizing
town."
in my establishment. You're going to have to take that out to the street. Believe me, people do not want to be preached to in this place.
Cantriel is going to turn
Or
right
anywhere else.
to Hannah. I think you are my new best friend, my dear.
I am the new Padre in town, and I want you all to know that this place is a den of iniquity. You can meet me at the church, and I will absolve you of your sins, of the sin of sloth, the sin of drinking, and the sin of wasting money.
Well, what fun is that?
Drown lifts his drink and downs it.
I feel like you all have, you've all heard this same spiel many times from old Grievous Langsmore.
Since the Padre is not taking it, Tomo's going to reach over and take Grievous' drink, and he's going to finish both of them.
You all are able to settle down for a little bit. You perhaps order a bit of food, have a couple more drinks, and eventually Drown. You are able to, you and Fig have a little bit of back and forth with Miss Wrist, and she makes arrangements with you. You haggle out some prices to get you a resupply. Fig, I imagine you give her a rundown of the specific spirits and ales, and she offers up a few different options, and you're able to make those arrangements while the rest are just kind of doing your thing. And after just a little bit, you start to hear a bit of a commotion from outside. You notice from out the door that crowds seem to be gathering. And a couple people go running by, hollering, "He's here! He's here! Oh, he's back! He's back! All right, yeah, Professor Charlemagne!"
They're coming for my servants. Praise be.
And Hannah sort of looks up from her clipboard where she was just jotting down the last of your order, and she just kind of nods over there and says, "Yeah, I suppose if y'all's new in town, maybe it's going to be something for you to see. He'd been coming around here for the last 3-4 days peddling his beard oil. Seems everybody wants it these days, but, well, I got no interest in it."
Is that what the whole
Yeah,
New book is about?
ever since he showed up, everybody gets a hold of it. By the time they wake up the next morning, sometimes it's just a little bit afterwards. They've been sporting these ridiculous, in my opinion, I'm sorry, and she looks over at the dwarves. Oh, these ridiculous. Notice she doesn't apologize to Griffith when she says that. These ridiculous looking beards, and now they seem to like them, so I figure no harm, and it just keeps
Well,
coming back, and they keep buying it.
thank you for the heads up, because I definitely will not be participating in that particular trinket.
Well,
No, I could use some grooming supplies.
You could use more than just some grooming supplies, darling.
I think you'd look good with a beard.
That better be
He's-
for Griffith.
No, I was talking to you.
Honey, I'm not your type, beard or
Are you-
not.
Are you drinking that? He kind of points to
Always.
her glass.
And she'll like quickly shut it down.
Well, I suppose I'm gonna go watch this hooey. He's gonna stand up and kind of like adjust his belt. As he kind of moves that poncho out of the way, you can see he's got a 6-shooter on his hip and a sawed-off shotgun across his back. And he kind of cracks his spine, walks over, and he picks up a barrel that's probably about the size that he is, almost, and he picks it up and kind of carries it outside, sets it down in front of a rocking chair, and lowers himself into the rocking chair and puts his boots up, kind of crosses them at the ankles, and just sits there and watches this parade outside.
Does anybody
You can see
head? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
You can see that Fig has immediately kind of like stood up a little bit and is kind of looking at the door and back and taking a step and looking at the door and just saying, it would save a lot of paint. You never know, right? Right?
Oh, honey, go give it a try. It could be a good look on you.
He ever so gingerly just like touches his metal face. You can hear this like ting 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 ting. ting.
I think it'd be charming, quite frankly.
A well-groomed beard is a thing of pride.
Isn't that one of the deadly sins?
I noticed that was absent from his list.
Along a couple others are missing too. A couple of holes in his preaching today.
Well,
Big.
Fig, I reckon it might be worth looking into if you so inquire to have a beard like my cousin and I. But you'll have to pardon me. You never know what he's going to get up to. And I follow after Talmud.
If Fig is actually leaving, Talmud, and it looks like he's heading towards the kind of the crowd, Talmud's going to stop Fig and put several coins in his hand, get 2 of them, and just wicked smile kind of plays across his face.
You Fig like scratches and you see him like pen in a wink. You got it.
Well, the sun's shining brightly down on the town center of Prospect. It's now teeming with 3 to 4 times as many people as when y'all first arrived. Everybody seems to be crowding around a big brightly colored wagon in the central area. The front of it has been propped down to form a sort of stage. And there stands a tall, slightly portly gentleman with a luxurious-looking beard, a thick auburn beard, thick auburn hair trailing down his back. He wears a long red coat with tails that extend almost all the way down to the floor, loose-fitting black slack trousers. You can just make out a real fancy shirt underneath. He wears white gloves on his hands, and he's just setting up some tables and a display on his stage as people are gathering around, and he's completely pretending as if he doesn't even see anybody gathering around him. And you can hear the clanking of the bottles as he's setting them up, and people are already gathering around. And as he grabs one last crate of bottles and sets it down, he stops with his back to the crowd, and you hear a hush, all the murmurs and excited jostling like a wave through the crowd. Like they've seen this before. They know what's about to happen. Do you all stay at the back, or do you move your way closer to the stage?
Oh, hell no. Cantrell's as close to the stage as she can get.
That Fig is right there with her.
Griffith too.
So we know Thorgarn and
Excited about
Talmud
beer
are...
products.
Cantrell will make sure that Fig is between her and the preacher. She's just like, just in case.
like she does. We know
And you do.
we know that Talmud and Thorgarn are sort of hanging back. Thorgarn because he wants to keep an eye on Talmud. What's Drown doing?
Drown is sort of watching all of the hubbub move toward the door with curiosity. Can I see out the window, perhaps, or out the doorway? Just kind of keep an eye on the commotion out there, or would I have to actually head out onto the street?
So you just kind of want to stand in the shadow of the bar?
Perhaps, yeah, maybe. I'm interested, but not gonna run out along with.
Yeah, imagine you're standing there. You just sort of lean against the edge of the door frame, and as you're standing there, just sort of leaning and keeping an eye on things, you're just shrouded in the shadow of the awning over the wooden walkway out front. Hannah Risk comes up next to you and holds up another cup filled with some sort of arcanely cooled liquid and just says to you, "Enjoy the show." And
he accepts the cup, nods his thanks, and says, "I have a suspicion that I surely will."
And Fig, Cantriel, and Griffith up there in the front, you see as this dapper gentleman on the stage suddenly reaches up, and he's wearing a sort of a elaborate top hat. It doesn't just go straight up. It sort of curls outward a little bit. It has a red band around it that matches his jacket. That's this sort of deep red, almost like a velvet. He just sort of adjusts it, and then, quick as a flash, he turns on his heel, turns to the crowd, and looks out at all of you. "I see among all of you in the crowd in the town of Prospect a fine selection of beards and mustaches, no doubt put there by my own magical miracle beard oil. But I see an even larger number of folks out there in the crowd that got nothing on your face. I see smooth-faced children, smooth-faced women, smooth-faced men. I even see right here in the front row a smooth-faced clockwork gentleman looking up at me with wide eyes, and I imagine you'd look so much better if you had one of my fine beards and mustaches adorning your metallic visage. I see some dwarves lurking around here with beards and mustaches. I see a child over there with a beard all the way down to her knees, decorating it up with ribbons and beads. I sell those on the side because you're going to want to keep your beards looking pretty. I got combs, I got brushes, I got oils, I got balms. What I do not have is a lack of Professor Charlemagne Latan's magical miracle beard oil, and all you gotta do is provide me with that low price of just 5 gold pieces to get a hold of one of these fine tinctures, and you get to keep the souvenir glass bottle that it comes in. One application
taking orally is good for a magnificent beard. Who among all of you is gonna be the first? Will it be you? Will it be you? Will it be you?
Immediately puts up his hand. Immediately.
And you
like,
see
he doesn't even finish.
And you see the hand coming down. I see it's gonna be this fine clockwork gentleman with the copper and brass visage. You will not regret this. And he holds out his hand and waits. And the crowd all turns and is staring at Fig. And he's holding his hand out to you as if he wants you to put money in it.
That means you can
absolutely
get your chance there, darling. He just
Sorry, it looks like
yeah, you
I
see
think I
Fig
froze
is,
for a
is just
second.
kind of like, oh.
No, we're good. We're good. Continue.
Fig is just like hasn't taken his like glance off of this this man, as he just doesn't even stop looking to look down, takes the money that Talmud had given him and puts it in his hand. So that would be enough for 2 bottles. So 10.
As soon as the coins land in his hand, as quick as a flash, his hand comes up from the side. You barely hear the tinkling of the bottles, and 2 bottles are produced. These glorious little crystal bottles. And he hands them to you. And as you take these bottles, the entire crowd, still silent, is staring at you expectantly.
Fig immediately realizes the problem when he looks at the bottle and remembers his words of drinking this thing, this concoction. So then I imagine that he does something probably odd. I think that he has like this small little opening that you see come from a small cog, maybe in his either of his shoulders, that is usually used for oil, like to like normal oil. And he just pours this oil in there.
All right, everybody's skipping again. We're dealing in the tail end of this this stream with a little bit of glitchy internet, but we're no strangers to that. We'll just power through. All right, Fig. As you imbibe this in the way that only Fig does, the crowd watches. Maybe there's a couple of people that are like, "What's he doing? Oh, is that how they do that? I had no idea." A woman nearby seems almost disgusted as she goes, "Well, I never. And I need you to roll me a D100.
hearing the "I would never," can't you be like, well, I should hope not. That'd be rather awkward, wouldn't it?
All right, Fig's rolling up that D100 and tell me what you got.
70.
All right. As you imbibe this, nothing happens at first. And then all around you hear ping, ting, 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 as these metallic fibers seem to go ping, 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 and all of a sudden they go in straight out, all in all directions. They just go about 8 inches out. Fig, what color are these metallic fibers?
Interestingly enough, they're not only one type of metal. They are, you see copper, you see iron, you see different shades of maybe even gold. You see like this kind of shimmery in a few strands. You see some dark, some light. So it just looks like this multitude of shades of browns and blacks and grays that just fill these colors.
In addition to this happening, I'd like you to roll me a d4.
It's a 3.
For the next 3 hours. You know how sometimes in certain cartoons, I know that Ren and Stimpy used to do this way back in the day. You have the usual style of animation, and all of a sudden they zoom in for a close-up, and it's like super extra. We get this view of you as for the next 3 hours, Fig is unquestionably the most attractive being in town. Not in any kind of weird way. It's just Fig is incredibly pleasant to look at. All of your metallic form glitters and gleams in a way. It seems to, and no matter which way you turn, the sun catches it. And you can almost hear ting as the light glistens off of you. And you have, as your beard forms out, the entire crowd erupts in cheers and money begins flying out and people are eagerly purchasing. Griffith, what are you doing now that you're caught in the fray? And Cantriell, the two of you are caught in the fray as the crowd has gone nuts, and Professor Charlemagne is just handing out, he's taking money with one hand, handing out bottles, money, bottles. He always seems to know without looking exactly how much coin is in his hand. 1 bottle, 2 bottles, 3 bottles, 4 bottles.
Please, I'd be like, scooting my way out of the fray, probably using Drown as sort of like a landmark to try and get out of the thick of the crowd. And just sort of like the little like side dance. Oop, pardon me. Excuse me. Yeah, you go right ahead in front of me. I'm not in line. Nope, pardon. Nope, all yours. Like just making it clear she wants nothing to do with the sales part of things.
What about Griffith?
Griffith is overcome with his excitement, and he's one of the first to hold his hand out with his money, trying to fight the he's up front fighting the crowd.
You hold your hand out there and it doesn't take much. It's not long before suddenly the coins are gone and a crystal vial is in your hand. Are you going to drink this now or are you going to hold on to it?
I'm going to drink it now.
Of course, it's a one shot. Drink it now. I'm going to need you to roll me a D100.
Alrighty. I got a 49.
Interesting.
Uh-oh.
Father Griffith, from your face, your beard that you already have with your neatly curled mustache and sort of neatly trimmed, you suddenly sense from around your chin an incredibly bright light. There's a warmth radiating as everybody around you looks in awe as you now sport a magnificent beard of fire. And it's as if it was fire, but it's upside down. It seems to defy physics and seems to burn downward. You do not get burned. It does not singe your clothes. It's just a beard of flame.
It's a bearded miracle.
People are amazed all around you. I ain't never seen that one before. Give me that one. And a fresh surge of people come rushing in to get a hold.
Is it a miracle then? A bearded miracle?
It is absolutely a bearded miracle. You guys have another re-roll because somebody just donated $48, and I know that our own Stonefly Kai donated $50, and another person donated $2. That adds up to $100. I don't know how I'm able to math so quickly, but we're at $20,400 already, and we still got a couple hours to go in this. Fig, you still got an extra vial. The crowd is surging all around. Griffith, you're sporting this flaming beard. Drown, you're watching all of this crowd go nuts. Occasionally you see people. Actually, here's what I'd like. Since we got Thorgarn, Talmud, and Drown, you are all observing. I want each of you to describe for me what one of the beards looks like that you see as somebody stumbles out of the crowd, takes a drink, and their beard appears. Let's start with Drown. Who's the first person you see, and what kind of beard do they have?
The first person I see is sort of a paunchy, middle-aged man with a beer gut and suspenders, and his beard is an iridescent plumage of what looks like blue and green shimmering parrot feathers.
And as he sort of suddenly just starts to sort of just automatically preen it, weirdly, you see as he turns around, he goes, and an egg comes out of his mouth. Thorgarn, who do you see? What kind of beard do you see?
So there's this, pleasantly plump woman, long brown hair, and she's got a flower on her lapel, and as she drinks the potion, vines begin to grow from her chin, and they begin to sprout flowers. So while there's vines behind, it is just a rainbow of colorful flowers that are all in full bloom, all competing for your attention, and they don't in any way, shape, or form match or clash with the one on her lapel.
And you actually hear, as she walks by, you hear just a subtle zzz, as a couple of lazy bumblebees just instantly seem to be flying around this flowery beard and alighting on the flowers. Talmud, what do you see?
Bumblebeard.
Bird beard and bumblebeard.
I think Talmud spots an elf, a male elf from obviously far up north somewhere. He's got these kind of almost like vaguely lederhosen style clothing on, and he's just drinking this. He's kind of smacking his lips, and as he does so, his face kind of erupts in the sound of like springs, and as it does so, this massive beard kind of unfurls out of his face in the shape of a cuckoo clock, and it starts actually like moving and turning as a cuckoo clock, and a chime sounds, and small little like elves come out of one side of it and kind of march in an arc and then disappear back into the other side.
And he's immediately rushed up. You see this so clearly because as it started sprouting, he immediately rushed up to the bookstore that was that's next to the Furious Forge Tavern, and is looking at his reflection in the window, and he just goes, "Oh my, I was never expecting that it would be something so glorious like this. It's a cuckoo beard." Cantriel, you were moving to get out of this crowd, and I'm not even going to make you roll because you have such a ridiculously high stealth. You're just sort of weaving, dodging around people that are rushing up. I want you to first tell me what is the beard that you see as you pass by, and then tell me where you're headed as you're backing away from this.
So in the, the fracas going on around her, she is moving around, and suddenly her hands fall on something rather soft, and it's almost innate that she sort of like does like the pat pat motion, and she realizes she has run into another woman whose beard is actually like this very beautiful ornate lace that blends down into the collaring of her dress, and it's actually quite fetching, but it's very light and fluffy and airy. It's like the best French lace out there. And Cantriel kind of goes, "Oh my, that is a look. That's a look I could get behind, my dear." And she'll actually like stop for a second and be like, Although, quite frankly, I think I might keep it a little bit low on the décolletage area. And then she'll just kind of do a quick look around. And again, she's using Drown as like the beacon because she's like, look for a tall man that she knows is her mode. And she will just sort of sidestep and kind of give a quick little bob curtsy and make her way over to the gentleman.
She doesn't really say anything. She just sort of smiles a little shyly as you compliment her. And then you see her turn as you're moving off to the side. And I'm sorry, where did you say you were headed?
The big, tall Goliath in the back of the crowd.
Oh, it's a Drown. You do see, though, as she turns, as you turn away from her, she turns to her companion, who is equally dressed in a little bit of finery, and she immediately begins signing to him. That I don't think any of you speak any kind of sign language, but you do see that she's signing something. He signs back, and they both seem very happy with what happened. And you start making your way back to Drown. For a little bit here, the commotion carries on, and after about a good, we'll say a good 45 minutes, things start to die down back to a normal pace. And taking his last coin and giving out his last bottle of tincture, Professor Charlemagne Latin begins to quickly pack up the empty crates he had, and is sort of, there's still a few people that are looking around, and he says, well, don't you worry, I'm going to be back tomorrow with a fresh batch of tincture. You're going to be sure to come back for Professor Charlemagne Latin's magical miracle beard oil. I'm going to see you, and I'm going to see you, and I'm going to see you with a beard. What would you like to do as the professor is packing up? And I literally did not intend for him to sound like a probably copyrighted, unnamed wrestler of yore. I feel like he should be saying, snap into a Slim Jim.
Mandy Ravage.
Mandy Ravage.
Is there any possible way that Talmud could have estimated how much gold this man just pocketed?
I'm going to say you can give me a perception check, and if you want to do this at advantage, you can spend one of those domain dice that people have purchased for you.
No, I think I'm going to save that, but that will be uncharacteristically high. You said perception, yes?
Yep.
That'll be an 18.
Let's see. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to roll my Dawnbringer's dice. 20. Well, it looks like, as you watch, you carefully, with your eye trained for the exchange of coin, kind of almost seeing from your perspective, we sort of zoom in on Talmud's eyes as they sort of narrow in. And as more and more coin is being exchanged, we see your eyes, and then we see coin exchange, bottle, eyes, coin, bottle, eyes. Your eyes are getting narrower and narrower, and as the more coin is stacking up and going into his pocket, and you can actually see that pocket start to sag down a little bit from the weight, we hear a sort of ch-chung, ch-chung as Talmud's feet come off of that barrel, and he plants both feet down, and there's a from those icy boots as he's now leaning forward. And you've seen at least 20 people, and half of them bought at least 2 bottles. You know, somewhere in their neighborhood of 150 to 200 gold pieces just exchanged hands. And in this economy, 5 gold for one person isn't too much. It's nothing to sneeze at. But 150, 200 gold all in one place, that's a pretty good chunk of change.
So I think he's kind of moved to the edge of the porch where he's kind of leaning on the post that kind of forms the end of the rail at the edge of the porch here. And he pulls out a thick tinder twig out of his pack and like lights it across the stubble that kind of rings his beard, and then holds it to the end of that stogie and kind of rotates it with his tongue, kind of making sure that he lights it all the way around before he flicks the match out and tosses it into the ground. And then he pulls that big stump of cigar out of his mouth and just kind of watches this whole thing get packed up. And it's very obvious to anybody who knows him that the wheels are turning fast.
So Thorgarn, who's, been watching the crowd, but, never too far behind, watching his misbegotten cousin, steps over, puts a heavy boot onto the tinder twig, making sure it's properly out, drapes his arm around your shoulders. What you reckoning there, cousin?
Oh, nothing. I just watching the man work, that's all.
Uh-huh. What you thinking about?
Oh, you know me.
Exactly.
You're not going to stand there all night, are you?
Nah, we're going to probably go for a walk and get your mind put on other things.
Thought you said you were tired.
Tired of you doing things you ain't ought to been doing.
There ain't no ain't oughta. There's only what you do and what you can't do. That's it.
Well, and I'll try to pull you around to be looking in an alternate direction. Do you resist, or do you kind of allow me to move you?
No, he sighs, which basically equals like cigar smoke right in your face.
Yeah. Well, looks like there's more pleasing things in this direction.
As you turn around, sorry.
I said, if you say so, Paul.
As you turn around, it's about this time that everybody sort of found themselves back together at the Furious Forge, and there is Drown and Cantriel. As Cantriel sort of, you get back over there by where Drown is, and Griffith, the Padre, comes up with his new flaming beard, and Fig, sporting the Brillo beard, comes walking up, and Talmud and Thorgarn. You see a rather well-dressed gentleman come walking up to where all of you are standing there, and he says, excuse me, I don't mean to interrupt. My name is Sir Bradford, and it is an honor to meet you. I have a request, and that is where we are going to take a break. All right. Thank you to everybody who's hanging out with us for this last stream of Jasper's Game Week. Took me a few minutes to kind of get into the flow of running a game with my good friends here. I hope you all, we've got a ton of new viewers, obviously, that we're not used to having, but I hope you're all enjoying the game. I've seen quite a few donations have come in. We've earned some domain dice, some rerolls, and I hope you're going to stick around for the last half of this game, and maybe we'll see a few more donations go in there and see how high we can get that going. We're going to be gone for about 5 to 10 minutes, so hold on to your hats, get yourself some sarsaparilla, light a cigar if you need to, and grab yourself a vial of beard oil. We'll be back in 2 shakes of, whatever that thing over there is. And we're back. Thank you for sticking around for what is now the last half of Professor Charlemagne Latan's Magical Miracle Beard Oil, who inexplicably sounds like a wrestler, but, well, that's how it is now. And you have just met the rather dapper gentleman who has just introduced himself. And pardon me, my name is Sir Bradford, and it is an honor to meet you.
I wonder, might I inquire borrow from your time for a moment? I have something of a rather serious nature that pertains to this whole thing that just occurred, and, well, you look like a group of individuals that are, well, new to the area. And he looks over.
Did you just say sir, like titled?
Oh, you mean myself? Yes, I am Sir Bradford of the Walterdavian Bradfords. And at that point, a tall elven woman comes around and slides her arm in next to his. She's wearing a very nice looking sort of silk blue dress. She has dark hair that seems to have a bit of blue intermingling with it, as she just slides his arm in and says, "Darling, why do you always insist on telling people you're from Waterdeep? Everybody knows you're from Oakhurst." Pardon my husband.
Oakhurst, and Cantriel's like, bye.
Pardon my husband. I'm the Lady Vantage.
Oh, how nice for you in Oakhurst.
I'm the one from Waterdeep.
Oh, well, hello then.
But please, do go on, darling. Yes, sorry. Yes. My dear wife, the Lady Vantage, always keeps me honest. Please, I see you've already been drinking. No judgment. I mean, but would you mind if I purchased you a beverage or two and explain to you what's going on in our town here? And he sort of just looks like he's looking for permission because Drown seems to be taking up most of the doorway.
Drown smiles broadly and steps aside and says, "Well, by all means, do lead the way. You have piqued my curiosity."
Well, all right. And he motions over to Hannah, who she just kind of gives him a nod. And Cantriel, with that ridiculous passive perception you have, Hannah, you notice that Hannah seems receptive to him. She doesn't give any kind of side eye or anything. She, rather than sort of giving that sort of downplayed nod, she kind of gives the chin up, like, "Hey, nice to see you," kind of thing. And she pours the same drinks you've all had before, as well as a couple of glasses of wine for the gentleman and the lady. As everybody's seated around the table, he looks around. "Well, as I see," and he looks sort of uncomfortably at Gribbeth and Fig. "I see some of you have already fallen prey to that Professor Charlemagne's machinations, and you've seen, no doubt, what's happening around this town. But I'm just going to cut right to the chase, as they say. I think he's up to no good.
Charlemagne's a charlatan.
Oh,
That's a shocker.
Professor Charlemagne Latan? A charlatan? Charlemagne... Why, it's right there in his name. I never even saw it. Well, that seems... And you realize he's being sarcastic.
How can such a man who gives such magnificent beards be a charlatan? I mean, look at this beard. It's amazing.
Because there's always a catch with something like that.
And I saw a man who had a milk beard. He had teats growing from his chin, and his wife put a bucket around his neck and was milking him. They're
Well,
going to feed all the children with that.
Oh, they're going to be very happy.
Well, I don't know where you come from, Father, but I myself don't feel comfortable. I don't even want to say the phrase chin milk. Oh, there, you've made me say it. Oh, I'm sorry, my husband appears to be a bit... Well, he's a bit close to this situation. His mother and his father, who were staying with us here, they have gone missing. Though the town's not talking about it, over the last few days, I have noticed no less than another dozen townsfolk have gone missing. As soon as they're gone, it's as if they were never there. Nobody seems to even care that they're not here. Women, children, makes no difference.
What about that sheriff, Meepo? Have you had a consort with him about this?
Meepo is interested only in the denizens of Prospect while they reside within the circle of his protection. He's not willing to step outside, you see. But he is a rather large dragonborn figure and seems very imposing. I fear he may be a bit of a coward at heart. He's never really faced up to more than a shoplifter these days. But here's the thing. We have a suspicion that the disappearances are directly tied to Professor Charlemagne. Would you be willing to look into this for us? We would, of course, be willing to pay you for your troubles. I understand you're the owners and proprietors and crew of the vessel Evangeline that's docked at the river now?
I have the privilege of being the captain of the Evangeline. Yes, of Evangeline.
And you're taking on water and beverages and food, no doubt.
Indeed we are.
Yeah, we can see to those for you, above and beyond what you've already stocked. And we can assure you have a little bit more operating capital if you can solve our problem here.
Are you also saying that if we bring this villain to justice, that we can, say, keep his profits for the church?
I'm only interested in the missing people. I care not for what you do with what
that's
he
what
has.
I heard. Profits for the church. All right.
Padre, is that
Perfect.
beer affecting your hearing from the sizzling sounds?
What's my deal?
Exactly.
I think that you see Fig has kind of been half listening this entire time because you see he is standing very close to Griffith with his fire beard so that the iron kind of melts. So he's like trying to like form his beard a little bit better.
Oh yeah, 100%. As you get closer, the fibers start to loosen up, and you find it responds very well. You're able to style your beard as well, however you want.
So, why do you think that this man with his beard oil has anything to do with the missing people?
The only people that have gone missing are individuals that have consumed this tonic, this magical miracle beard oil.
That's over half the darn town.
You can say damn. You can swear in my presence.
I didn't understand what the protocols were with you being, sir and all.
I am a lady.
I was talking to him.
Trust me, it won't offend me if you say things such as hell, damn, or other vulgarities don't bother me.
What about the ones that rhyme with duck?
They bother me.
Everything bothers
Well,
him.
now that we have that all sorted out, do you know where this professor lives or stores all of his materials and concoctions?
We know that he heads outside of town to the east,
After he peddles all of his wares, he disappears rather quickly with his carriage, but nobody has bothered to find exactly where he goes. And it's not exactly something that would look good for myself or Sir Bradford to suddenly hop upon horseback and go traipsing across the countryside. And Sheriff Meeper will have nothing to do with this. He thinks it's poppycock, in his words. We know he goes east. The only thing out there is, well, you get out there and you get into the caldera proper. It is harsh wasteland, very little vegetation, and you do have to watch out for the ground to crack, for the seething magma roils beneath the surface. The only other thing out there is, I think it's old Margrave's Hill. Once upon a time, they say years ago, centuries ago, was an old wizard that had a tower out that way, but there's barely any sign of any kind of tower or anything there. There's little more than a large outcropping of rock. Perhaps he's found something out there, though. Will you look into this for us?
Well, you certainly have my attention. And he'll kind of swing his gaze around the rest of the group.
Talmud has actually got his revolver open and is loading bullets into it from his gun belt. Well, as if that's answer enough.
She looks over at you. The Lady Vantage looks over at you, Talmud. And she reaches a hand up almost playfully along her neck, tracing along her collarbone, and just under the edge of where her blue dress is. And you see as she catches a silver chain and pulls out from her neckline something that's hanging on this chain. And you see there a single silver bullet. She sort of fumbles with it for a moment and unhooks it, does a little something and pulls the clasp that was connecting it to the chain off and holds it out to you. You look like a dwarf that would know how to use this. And she places a single silver bullet in your hand that magically matches whatever caliber weapon you have. I mean, whatever it is you're going to do, I do ask that you please look into this and deal with it quickly. I fear that whatever event it is that's brought this Professor Charlemagne here is going to end soon, and then it will be all over. Some might even say we've only got 90 minutes to resolve this.
Well then, we've all finished our drinks. If you're all agreeable to the price these fine people are offering, then why don't we see our way east and see if we can pick up this professor's trail?
With a wagon that size, it shouldn't be hard.
Indeed
Reminds
not.
me of my holy pilgrimage. Let me tell you about it sometime in detail.
We should leave. And Talmud pushes this chair and stands up and starts for the door.
So,
tip my hat to sir and lady, and hold the door for the rest of the party so that they might all be able to exit on our way.
the question now is, how exactly are you planning to trail old Professor Charlemagne? You gonna trail him on foot? You're gonna procure some kind of mounts? What are you gonna do?
Will Sir Brapper give us mounts?
Well, I guess you could go back and ask them as y'all just left.
Whoops.
He hasn't been gone out of town very long, right?
I'd say with the time that you're talking to him, I'm sorry, I'm distracted by what's happening. Looks like Looks like Talon and Claw may have just gifted a bunch of subscriptions to the channel. I've seen a bunch of subscription notices, so thank you for that. Talon and Claw, I'm going to shout them out right now. In addition to, look below me, we have Tabletop Loot is our sponsor. I'm sure the mods have been spamming the sponsor details. Talon Claw has been with us all week, giving stuff away as we've hit different goals. They were a sponsor of an earlier game, and they make some amazing dice vaults, and apparently are making me a custom Jasper's Game Day 2020 mini terrain domain DM screen. So I just wanted to shout them out. Thank you for gifting the viewers with those subscriptions. So how would you like to ask Sir Bradford about mounts? Was that what I was hearing?
If it was brought up, can't you be like, oh, fine, just one moment, and she'll use like she just kind of stands there for a moment, like, you know, finger on cheek, and she's going to be doing sending. Pardon me, Sir Bradford, we need some horses. Think you can help us? We'd absolutely appreciate it. Thanks so much, Cantriel.
Now, sending is the one that they can respond to?
Mm-hmm.
What the devil? Oh, yes. Head out to the stables and we'll arrange travel for you.
Somehow, even though it's mental, he seems to be yelling into the air.
She'll be like
We've
cringing.
arranged mounts for you. Enough for each of you.
We could all probably hear it just like spilling out of the saloon into the street.
It's muffled coming from the saloon. I love it. I'm actually going to remember. I'm going to give you a point of inspiration for that. That visual is so hysterical. Take a point of inspiration, Dan.
Thank you.
I love that. Also, a good friend and one of my very first players. 5 years ago this summer, I ran my first ever online game on the Mini Terrain Domain YouTube channel. Chris Perkins, Pray for Smiley Bob. And Brian Marshall was one of my first ever online players. And he just donated $100 and got you guys a domain die. So thank you for that. Unless I confused you, I'm pretty sure that's the same Brian Marshall, but the story's true nonetheless. You head outside to the outskirts of town to the stables, and you find not 6 horses. You find 6 rather large and bulky beasts known as bullets. They're all saddled up, and they are ready to go. And I'm going to say...
I was afraid I was going to have to walk.
I'm going to say
that
within...
does not appear to be the case.
I'm going to say within Caldera, this is not an unusual thing. In my Caldera, anyway. I don't know about yours, Jeremy. But in my Caldera, bullets as riding mounts is not all that terribly unusual. So that does not mean that you all have proficiency with them unless you have... animal handling or proficiency in land vehicles, we'll say, or mount. I forget what the proficiency is for animals. Is it land vehicles or is it mounts?
There's no tool proficiency for it. It could be animal handling.
All right. Well, good luck. How do you plan to ride these bullets and track Professor Charlemagne?
Is anyone skilled at following trails?
I've dabbled.
Said the ranger.
Likewise, but I suspect that your eyes are a little keener than mine. So why don't you take point?
Oh, fine. And she'll like quickly twitch her bustle, and out comes her bow, and she slings it over her shoulder, and she'll hop up onto the closest bullet to get ready to go.
All right.
Same.
So you're all going to mount up. So what is your plan actually? Also, I want to make a correction because it was Antonia Pinero that gifted out the subs. Talon and Claw did gift subs earlier, but I'm just now seeing the notification. So I want to give proper credit. I'm not watching the chat as close, but I want to thank Antonia Pinero for those gifted subs. And if I'm not mistaken, they have already given quite a bit, contributing to the donations as well. So thank you for that. So as you all mount up, I am, of course, going to need an animal handling check. And kind of mixed in with that, Cantriel, tell me what it is you're doing to track Charlemagne.
I am looking over the very large head of this creature and probably even like, gripping on to the edge of one of the little frills. And basically narrowing my eyes, tipping my head down, looking for any signs of wagon tracks or any other types of animals that look like they're beast of burden, just in case he's been slippery and leaves the wagon somewhere else.
And Jake, Drown is proficient in survival. He's not terribly good at this, but he does know the basics, so he'll kind of backstop, just keeping an eye out to give a little bit of a wider field of view and point out anything that isn't in Cantriel's immediate vicinity. So could I help?
Yeah, absolutely. So, but before you do that, I would like animal handling checks from everybody.
Oh, yeah.
I have a 12.
I have a dirty 20. How appropriate.
15.
8 here.
I got an 11. Back on track.
Mm-hmm. Now it's a Dawnbringers game.
Oh, that reminds me. I did have to spin a domain die to get there, so.
Oh, dear God.
Sorry, whoever donated that.
Keep in mind, we don't have hundreds of them.
No, we're not exactly flush.
All right. I was trying to remember how to spell bullet. I was looking it up on D&D Beyond, but I'm not going to open another window and tempt my internet because already as it was opening, you guys were getting robot voice. So, who all got 15 a 12 or better? That tracks. Well, except for Thorgarn, that seems unusual. But yeah, the three of you are able to have no problems. I'm going to say that Griffith, Fig, and Talmud, you can, as we're traveling along, you can describe how you're struggling with your bullets. Somebody in chat I saw has just automatically called this the bullet train as you are heading out this way. Because Drown and Cantriel, you both passed, you can make that survival check at advantage as you are tracking. So go ahead and make me that survival check.
That is a lovely 17.
It takes a little bit of looking around because something you're noticing about the caldera here is as you get outside of town, the road is this sort of dried, cracked, very little moisture, and there seems to be a bit of heat and magma coming up in between some of the deeper cracks. And even your own bullets, their footsteps seem to disappear relatively quickly as the ground almost melts and shifts under their feet. But you're able to discern bits and pieces of wagon tracks that are heading off the east, not on any kind of road. There is a road that heads east and continues northward, sort of northwest, northeast. But this tracks continue heading out east, and I'd like Cantriel. Actually, we'll go ahead and say everybody as you start heading off that way. Give me a perception check.
Okay, that's a 26 now, darling.
You see to the other side of the world.
I see smells.
So
It's an 11 for me.
all right. Anybody else is ridiculously high as Cantriel's?
That'd be a negative. Drown
Right.
rolled a gentleman's 2.
From now on, I want low numbers called the Gentleman's 2 in our game. I love that. Cantriel, you're able to see everybody else. You're sort of looking, and you see the heat waves rising up off of the caldera wasteland. And Cantriel, your eyes are able to peer through what at first appears to be a mirage, but you see a sharp outcropping of rocks that appears to be quite a few miles out to the east. But you also see a dust plume that's just heading that way, several miles ahead of you. as you all begin heading out that direction. Now that you know exactly where you need to go, this is where I want to know how those that failed their animal handling checks, we're going to kind of do one of these montages as we're just seeing as you're moving along through the desert. And there's curiously, as you're heading along and you make this turn and start heading in the, or rather don't make the turn, start heading along, there's a frog that's sitting on a rock at the edge of the road. And as you pass by with your bullets, it just and jumps off to the side. That was a very weird frog noise. But that's the sound it made. And go ahead, the rest of you, the other three of you, tell me how you struggle with your bullets.
So, I would imagine that these bullets are quite difficult to steer in the right direction. So you see Fig ride up next to Talmud, and this is not even minutes after they begin trekking out. This is easier than I thought. This is great. And he's like trying to you can see he's like kind of struggling to get this thing to stay straight. It's just like, you know what they say, when in doubt, let your beast do the thinking. And at that moment, that frog jumps across the sight line of this bullet, and immediately this thing just tracks it, just veers left, sharp left, and the frog kind of jumps out and I imagine jumps into maybe like a small hole, and the bullet just jumps up and down, smashes into the hole, like kind of digging down, and leaves Fig flying up in the air. And I am so okay with him taking damage because he got a 1 on my animal handling check.
I'm gonna say Fig.
So that's how I imagine.
I'm gonna say Fig takes 7 points of damage, and as you sort of land on your back with a loud clatter and clang, the bullet ends up coming over to you, and you just hear this over your head. You're looking up at this upside down looking bullet from your vantage point. And you can see dangling around it.
For you.
You can see dangling around its chin that there is a name tag hanging there, and it says Hermes. We're gonna go ahead and see Griffith.
Yes, you see, Griffith has quite a problem with these large beasts because he's quite tight in the posterior area. He stands very, very scrunched in like, right? And he walks kind of weirdly stick-like, right? Like almost like a stick figure. He doesn't have a normal gait. So when he has to spread his legs to get on this enormous beast, it's quite painful for this man who likes to keep his legs together, for the goddess. And he he also and because of these creatures have such tough hides, we have to wear these ginormous spurs. So we've got these enormous spurs on our boots, oversized spurs, and he's constantly trying to dig these into the beast's hide, and with the weird angle of his legs that don't quite go right on these creatures, he can't quite get the spurs in there right. So they'll the others who are quite adept at doing these creatures, like Cantriel, will look back and see Griffith going off in one way, and it's almost like a dodging pattern. Like he keeps going in a Z pattern because he can't steer the beast correctly.
Only problem is Cantriel would not look back because she already knows he wouldn't be able to handle this beast to begin with, so she just keep looking forward.
Gotcha. So so he's always in the rear. He's never near the front because he can't steer these damn beasts. But I get there eventually.
Talmud, how about you?
So Talmud was lucky enough to get one of the bigger bullets, and this thing, whenever it was harnessed and saddled, like breathed in to expand its ribs. It held its breath so that it was nice and tight whenever it was kind of filled with air. But now that it's kind of relaxed and gotten out on the trail, it's this old trick that this probably old Bulette is done many times before. So now the straps of his saddle are actually loose, and he's just kind of continually like sliding to the left, and he has to kind of like grab a hold of some of like the plates of this creature to kind of like pull himself back upright, and then he starts sliding off the other direction. It's just this constant like struggle to stay on the back of this creature.
And so as the six of you are riding along in your bullets, occasionally we see a cloud of dust kick up as we got Grievous zigzagging and Talmud trying to hold on, and then we see Big and Hermes running back and forth by, and the picture is sort of visual coming high up as we see this outcropping of the old Margreaves Tower out in the distance, and everybody heading off that way. Is there any particular traveling music that might be taking place at this point?
Cantrell is totally comfortable on this bullet, and she'll be, oh, give me a home where the owl bear roam, where the gnolls and orcs like to fray, where seldom is heard a discouraging word, and the sky's kind of cloudy today.
And we watch as the Dawnbringers ride off into the distance. Classic old school wipe as the bullets come into view. Well, 5 of them come into view. And finally, Hermes and Fig come galloping into view as you find yourself outside of this rather large outcropping that you can just make out that there are bits and pieces of old stonework laying around the base and up high up on it. But there is a very clear, very clear large opening that looks big enough that a wagon could fit through. And in the cool ground of the interior of this cave, you can see very clearly wagon tracks. What would you all like to do?
So, how much noise were we making? Like, how obvious is it going to be that we're riding up on something?
Well, I'm going to have I'm going to say we're going to roll stealth. Advantage for all of you that passed your animal handling checks, and disadvantage for all you that failed.
That'll give Drown a 23.
Very quietly.
Indeed he is.
22.
Also
14.
equally
Thorgar.
quietly. What did Thorgarn get?
14.
All right, Fig?
I got a 12.
Talmud?
So bringing up the rear is Talmud on this thing. This thing has gotten just as pissed off as at Talmud as Talmud is at it. And he is cursing up a storm, just yelling at the top of his lungs, "You damn haggled beast!" like that. And this thing is just like trotting along way faster than he can have any hopes of controlling. And his voice is echoing all over the walls. I got a total of a 5.
All right, Griffith, what about you?
Even with disadvantage, I rolled a 19 because my other one was a crit. But the second die,
I imagine you and your bullet are a bit quiet because you're just sort of you're doing all right. You're just not walking in a straight line. So
right.
And I'm sorry, Fig. Did we
get yours,
Fig?
A 12.
So yeah, everybody comes in relatively quiet, and then here comes old Talmud, and he's just raising up a ruckus as he's moving up in there, and you begin to hear, as the rest of you are starting to dismount your bullets, you hear Talmud's voice echoing inside the opening of this cave and reverberating down through the stone hallways. And just for those wondering, this section of my notes is entitled "Sneak Casually, but Don't Look Like You're Sneaking Casually."
I'm as discreet as you'd like, Jake.
All right. Well, what's done is done. The old Dawnbringers found themselves outside of the cavern, and it was clear Talmud's voice was echoing clearly through the cavern. Let's stick around and see what these Dawnbringers are going to do now. Dawnbringers, what are you going to do now?
I believe we should make our way inside that cave. Does there appear to be any light in there at all, or is it just pure dark?
It does appear to be dark.
Wonderful. Do any of you require some sort of light source to see in dank places?
Oh, you're cute. And she'll pat Griffith's hat and it lights up.
That's awesome.
Well, I suppose if we must, we must.
Why, thank you, my dear.
Anyone else need a light? I figured we might as well light the Padre in case he goes wandering.
Would you care for me to take a look first? Or should we all go in together?
If you wish to take a peek, by all means. Don't go too far, though.
So before the light winds up getting into the cave, I'll step up to the entrance, take a look around. You know how stealthy and massive my perception skills are, so this ought to be good.
So you're taking the lead, Thorgarn?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
All right, so I just want to take a moment and say thank you to, I just lost the name, but to Taz PJY73. I don't know, they've been in there. They've been with us for a lot this week. Donated another domain die, $100 donation, bringing us up to $20,676. And the message in their donation specifically says another song from that wonderful angel. So we'll bank that one for an appropriate moment. I know Cantriel and V are good for it. All right, so you're heading into this cave. Did I hear you were oh, that's right. You lit up Griffith's.
The Padres lit.
Or the Padres all lit up. The Padres lit.
The more things change, the more they stay the same.
Exactly. All right, Talmud or Thorgarn. See, even in this world, I do that. Thorgarn.
Aye, sir.
And no, Kai, I happened to look at chat at this time. That wonderful angel was not me. People are not paying for my voice anymore. All right, you begin heading in to this area, and I would like you to go ahead and give me an we'll call it an investigation, as you're sort of looking around and keeping an eye on things.
Hey, that's even worse than my perception. Wow, 17.
All right. It's cold. It's damp. The very walls themselves seem to almost bleed moisture, whether it's fresh water or something else. You're not entirely sure. It seems to glisten off of the light that Grievous, the Padres, casting through this area. But otherwise, the passage looks clear and continues to go on quite a ways at a downward, slightly curving angle. It appears this might go in under the ground.
So I'll inform the party. Are the billets, able to just stay still? Do they have to be mounted to something?
We could tie them up to a snag or something in a hollow nearby.
They seem pretty content to not even wander too far. Just sort of, in fact, you would have noticed as you leave them, they all seem to burrow just about 18 inches into the ground and sort of just wallow in the earth in the shade of this outcropping of rock.
All right. Shall we continue underground? Would you
Let us do.
All right, as you begin following along this area, Talmud, I need you to make an intelligence saving throw.
You would pick one of my good ones, Jake.
Or sorry, not you. I did it again. Thorgarn, because you're leading the way.
Oh,
I'm like, why are you talking, Jeremy?
If he's
thanks,
close enough-
Jake. Love you too, bud.
If he's close enough to the
Shut
Padre,
your
he gets a
darn
+3.
darn mouth. I'm going to say, yeah, he's probably close enough. You'll get that +3.
Hey,
All right,
that
Thorgarn,
actually-
you get that +3.
That actually gives me a bonus then. And that is a surprising 22. I rolled a 19.
So you're only going to take 5 points of psychic damage as you begin walking through here and you feel something just weighing down on your mind. Something is pushing hard against your brain pan and it's giving you a heck of a headache. I need Fig and Griveth to make Constitution saving throws.
Griffith got a 19.
All right.
Got a dirty 20.
Griveth, I need you to roll a D100. You were muted.
Dang it! I've been so good. 59. Did you hear me, Jake?
Yep. Sorry, I'm just
Okay.
looking it up.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Just want to make sure.
Okay. You feel weird. Something overcomes you, and you can't quite put your finger on it, but something just isn't sitting right with you. Fig, you passed your con save, but as you're walking through this area, following after Thorgarn, well, Thorgarn, let's cut to you first. How do you react as this powerful presence impacts you?
So like he reaches up and like takes off his hat and clutches his head and is looking around. It's very obvious that something physically is affecting him. So he's maybe somebody who's a little bit more perceptive might see something that he doesn't.
Anybody else that wants to can make a perception check or an investigation check.
Oh, sure.
An investigation check you will take. Well then, don't mind if I do.
Let's make that a 28.
Ooh, I'm not quite that good, but I'll back that up with a 24.
So, yeah, Fig has not been very perceptive today. And I think it's because the person that is most distracted by his attractiveness is himself.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
Oh, man.
He's catching glances of himself in his exterior. Damn, I look good.
Yeah, exactly. Just like any little polished piece of metal he sees, he's just pauses, just kind of.
Also, I guarantee you, if you just suddenly have a gigantic, majestic beard, you will not be able to stop touching it.
Oh. It doesn't even have to be sudden. Go back and watch how often I'm stroking my beard on stream. So Fig, then as you all are watching, two things are walking and are stop. As you are enamored by your own good looks, perhaps catching reflection in your own in your own reflection or catching it on the glistening walls, a smooth section of rock, you see that the color, the copper and the brass metals seem to reflect dazzling lights, and you're moving a little bit in the light that's playing off of Griffith's magically illuminated self. And then you hear as something's dripping from the ceiling onto your, as you look in your own reflection, and you see, and a section of the armor, the metal on your arm, begins to dissolve. And Cantriel, that's when you notice it. A big section of the ceiling appears to be moving.
Oh, hell. And get the bow up a notch.
With that, I'm going to say with that perception check, you realize, and with all of the illumination, you realize shooting this thing might not be such a great, or might not do much of anything, because it appears as though there's a sort of semi-transparent ooze-like substance of a gray color.
Wow, some sort of gray ooze.
As it sort of slithers along. It's on the ceiling, but it looks like if you continue on down the way, you might be able to get out of its area of effect. It's up to you if you want to take on this thing, or you can leave it be.
Well, using the arrow on the bow, watch your step or you're above, and let's get out of here.
Yeah, if we can
point it out to everyone.
If we can make our way around it without disturbing it, I suppose that's fine.
Oh, most definitely. Don't want to muss my clothes.
Said the man with a beard on file.
Doing some math real quick, and it looks like, I'm going to say, because we passed the 20,700 amount.
Right.
We just passed the $20,700 amount, so I'm going to say you guys got another domain die reroll in there, because it looks like some of the other donations equal up to 100. So I need to do a little bit of my usual domain die magic. You now have 6 domain die at your disposal. So you're all taking careful precaution now that you see this thing. And Cantriel sort of covering against it. All right, 3. So Florgan was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Who would be the last person to leave the presence of this thing as you're moving along? Talmud, I need you to make a... what was it? I need you to make an intelligence saving throw, and you will not get Grievous bonus, as he would have already moved on, and you would be outside of that 10 feet.
What kind of save did you say it was?
Intelligence. Big difference, right?
Oh, goodness. Okay. Okay, so the net total is a 0.
Which means you have a domain die.
You do have 6 domain die, but it's up to you. We know that Jeremy Talmud is classically inclined to ignore those domain dice. Except when it counts.
I don't want to roll another one and have it come up as an 11, so I'm good. I'll eat it.
I rolled 2 Dawnbringers and a 5 on the 3d6, so you're going to take 17 points of psychic damage as you feel this psychic crush on your skull. But otherwise, you make your way out of there. And you're able to continue moving along. Keeping your eyes out, you notice, or rather don't see anything else shimmering or slithering along the walls. But Cantriel, your sharp elven ears, you begin to hear a commotion coming from further down the way of this cave. And what you hear, in the direction you hear, you also see light coming. You hear the clinking of bottles and the moving of stuff. You hear voices and what sounds like a sort of drone of multiple voices just going, would you like to proceed?
Is there anywhere we could theoretically hide?
Not really. It's a cave, and if you continue on going, it'll open up into apparently this larger chamber, or a chamber where you hear and see this stuff.
As we were scooting along the cavern, Griffith reaches over and touches the rather questionable Talmud and heals him for 7.
All right.
Still an ally.
All
So I
right.
can get my new whitewashed church.
Yep. And Dan, you called it 100%. Psychic gray ooze that you just avoided. It's the downside to having Dan Dillon in your game is you can almost never slip something past him. But I got something for you, specifically for you. I mean, I don't target my players individually. All right. So how do you want to proceed?
Does it sound like those voices are coming toward us?
No. It sounds like there's
all right then.
there's activity staying at a distant location, somewhere up ahead.
Tonight,
Well, then.
keep moving forward slowly, trying to see if we can ascertain what's going on. See if we can.
Yeah, try and sneak forward as best we can.
All right, I'm going to need another stealth check from everybody.
Oh, there it is.
And let me see here.
So this is a rock cavern, I would imagine, right?
Yep.
So,
Not metal.
Oh no.
So I totally, kick a rock that bounces off, several walls before it clatters ahead. I got a 3.
All right, that's one fail.
And I trip over that rock and I got a 4.
God damn it.
That's 2 fails.
Over that rock, it clangs against Fig. I also got a 3.
Cantriel's cursing is covered by Fig's falling, but she got a 14.
Oh boy.
All right.
It's like a comedy of errors, the dominoes just tripping over each other.
Talmud barely manages to step out of the way and goes, "Oh shit!" He got an 11.
I have a 12.
Oh dear God.
Drown just sighs loudly.
Cantriel, what was your stealth at least?
14.
None of you passed that.
Yeah.
You were going up against a 22, I'll just tell you that.
Well, okay then.
So you hear you
You could almost sing to that.
and then you hear, well, it appears as though we might have some visitors coming to pay us a visit. You continue working. You do what you're doing. Don't stop unless I tell you to.
I think they heard us.
No shit, Sherlock.
So you've heard the voice of Professor Charlemagne. He seems to be, well, there was no hiding the fact that y'all were coming. So how would you like to proceed?
Got any more of that beard oil left?
Fig does, actually.
No, that's what Thor.
That's what he says.
Oh. So I think now that they're seeing, Fig is drawing on the angry eyebrows. So let's get him.
Talma knows that this is the turning point. There's no going back now. Once Fig has done this, we're in for blood. So he reaches down to his hip and he's going to pull out his revolver, Ghost Cleaver, and you can see that the ivory handle has the kind of black etched faces of kind of spirits or ghosts kind of all worked through it, and that continues kind of onto the metal. It's kind of etched with like this kind of bluing effect all the way down the length of the gun. and he's kind of pulled this, and he reaches down with his other hand, and he cocks the hammer back twice, and stalks forward.
All right.
That's the way it's gonna be. Thorgarn pulls out his own. This one is, looks to be made of black metal, and it's got all kinds of red etchings, in it about fire and anvils, and he, it's basically double barreled, and he, gets them both loaded and gets both sides cocked and ready to go.
Drown just sort of walks calmly, comfortably forward at a slow, leisurely pace. His shoes now giving faint clicks against the stone. His left hand kind of tucked at the small of his back, and his right just wrapped around the head of his cane, tapping along with his footsteps as he walks forward.
Cantriel will be kind of humming to herself. Chupacabra sitting in the old dead tree, waiting for a tasty goat. Is he dead? Chupacabra dead. Chupacabra, swift death to you who have wronged me. And she's going to activate her bow. But it's actually for the, the charlatan Charlemagne.
All right. Griffith, how do you enter?
All right. So Griffith, that's when the item that Griffith has had comes out from under his black coat. Griffith went on a pilgrimage at one point, and he was guided by the angel Eldath to find the Dawnbringer, the golden pistol of light. And he pulls it out from his jacket. It is a pure gold pistol, and it has adorned with holy symbols. And he's gonna aim it.
All right, so you all come out, and I imagine at this point there's the sound of Cantriel singing. You're all walking almost in slow motion, Cantriel's voice reverberating around this large chamber you now see before you, each of you stepping forward, the clicking of Drown's cane sort of keeping time with Cantriel's song. And as you go walking into this chamber, what you see is a chamber about 60 feet in diameter. There is parked there Professor Charlemagne Latan's wagon. There is a long table with about 20 townsfolk, all of them ranging from men, women, children of all ages, all of them with beards of varying styles and colors. It is from them that you hear, as they form a sort of circuitous assembly line moving around the table toward where there is a pool of water, and there is a multicolored trickle of liquid coming from the rocks up above into this rainbow pool, and they are dipping these glass vials with Charlemagne Latan's label on them that look identical to the bottles of beard oil you've been seeing sold, dipping them into this runoff, packaging them, labeling them, putting them into boxes, and loading them into Charlemagne's wagon. On a bigger outcropping of rock, looking over everything, you see the tall form of Professor Charlemagne Latan himself looking down at all of you as he says, "Well, it looks like somebody's finally figured out where I've been hiding. And I reckon you probably think you're gonna stop us." And you see, as he says this, he takes a step forward, and a frog that was sitting on the rock next to him leaps suddenly startled off the rock outcropping and bloop right into this liquid runoff. And there's no way around it. We're going to roll for initiative. Since you all came in here with a purpose, we are going to roll for initiative. I'm using the awesome combat tracker from D&D Beyond. So I'm going to roll up my friends here. And we got... I don't know why I did that. I rolled a number and I went, whoop, and was going to re-roll it. That's not how that works. I'm going to be honest here. All right, so let's see what we got here. Thorgarn, what you got for initiative?
17.
And Cantriel.
7.
Wow. Griffith.
14 for the G.
For the G. Fig.
18.
Talmud.
That's a 4. Good buddy. A 4.
A 4.
No 10 in 4. Just a
Drown.
17 for Drown.
All right. Start encounter, and it looks like Fig, you are at the top of the order.
So, okay. So, Charlemagne is up on the left. and
Charlemagne
then
is
just-
up to the right and is, I'm going to say that he is about 40 feet away, and he's 15 feet up on a rock outcropping. There are 20 commoners very close by in front of you. Just had a $50 donation from Quests R Us. Support such a great cause. Thank you for all of the hard work you put into this cause every year. Thank you so much for that donation. That pushes us up to $20,776. As Fig is preparing his action, I will say this, that in about 20 minutes, I'm going to interrupt combat for an announcement. As we are finishing up this adventure, stick around for this big boss battle, and let's keep those donations coming in and see what we end up with at the end of this game. We are really close to 21,000 is all I'm saying. Fig, what do you want to do?
Fig. Fig points his fingers out in front of him, like kind of like a gun, like how a child points a gun, and you see that at the tip of one of his fingers, it actually looks like a barrel. It begins to like extend and becomes almost like a barrel of a gun, and all of a sudden, this eruption of sound, this as Fig launches not a bullet, but a ball of fire that starts out small from the tip of his gun, and he wants to aim it above Charlemagne, but also at him, but like above also, if that makes sense.
You're trying not to hit the people, just him.
Yes, yep. Yeah, exactly. So he has
Okay.
to make a dex saving throw.
Let's see what we got here. All right, what's the DC?
17.
That is a total of 18. I had a 16 on the die with a 2 modifier.
All right. So he
Domain dice. We got. Speaking of which, we just got another $50 donation from Macraeus. Let's keep the donation train rolling. That means there's enough for another domain die. And for the purposes of this game, it will only cost you 1 domain die to make me re-roll. Normally, I make them pay 2 domain. Domain die are a whole thing on Mini Terrain Domain, but normally it costs them 2. But for the charity, it's only going to cost them 1.
Okay, I'm gonna get you to re-roll.
All right, that is a fail. What
So
is
that is
the...
going to be. Oh. Also, I have to say that watching the dice roll across the screen on the testing of the watching 10d6 just like slide across the screen was amazing.
We've been hearing all week from people that have been using it. They've been going nuts over both how it works and how hot the dice seem to be right now.
Yeah.
there were some mixed results. I'm disappointed that I can't run them from stat blocks as a DM. So hopefully that will make its way to D&D Beyond. I literally can't do anything as a DM with the dice roller. But I love it as players. So what did you do? What did you do?
did only 35 points of fire damage.
Only 35.
Yes.
Okay. So, this explosion of fire happens and sort of rains down on Professor Charlemagne as he begins immediately, my hair, my beard, and his voice becomes discordant, and it's almost as if he forgot what he's supposed to sound like. It is going to be next in the order is, all right, well, so you all notice that the multicolored pond where the commoners are all, townsfolk are all grabbing up this potion, this tonic, and where you saw that frog leap in, you see, and all of a sudden you see as a big bubble forms up, and you watch as a multicolored semi-transparent form rises up, and you see massive arms and tentacles grab up on the edge, and another one off to the side as this creature rises up out of the muck, and it is going to, so first off, I'm gonna roll, let's see, here we go. I'm gonna roll a d12. No, there's 6 of you. I need a d13 is what I need. I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna do this. Somebody roll me a die, any die.
6. Nope.
They were both even. On an even, the creature was going to attack the party. On an odd, it was going to attack the townsfolk. So, let's see what kind of range we're looking at here. Okay. It clambers out and it moves across. It does knock the table askew, sending commoners everywhere. And you can see this thing has a sort of translucent appearance. And as it comes towards you, let's see, I'm going to roll a d6, and that is going to be Thorgarn. Does a, yeah, I think a 26 is going to hit you. You get slammed for, you know what, I'm not even going to roll damage dice. I'm going to use average damage for the purposes of this. You're going to take 19 bludgeoning damage, and I need you to, and you are grappled. The second attack is going to be on Cantriel, as another one of these translucent tentacles whips out at you, and that is going to be a 28 to hit.
Not if you re-roll.
I will re-roll for a domain die. That is now a 17 to hit. Still hit? So you're going to take 19 points.
Can I reflect it with my holy book?
Do you want to make that a disadvantage?
Yes.
That is now a 10. Or sorry, a 13. Sorry, it's a 13. As Griveth intercedes and prevents this thing from taking hold of you. Thorgarn, you are
Get thee down, creature of filth.
I'm gonna interpret this way. So it's gonna do one more thing. And that is going to be against Drown, because you are a very visible target. And looking at the totals, it looks like we may have gotten another domain die. I saw a big donation come in a minute ago. I'm going to fire sale on domain die. If it's close to 100, I'm going to give it to you. We're getting really close to 21,000 is all I'm saying. And what was I saying? Okay. Drown does a... Oh, you need to make a strength saving throw. That's what you need to do.
Me? Yeah, sure.
+3.
Oh, yes, thank you. Thank you very much. I'm going to burn my inspiration, if you don't mind.
Sure. Go for it.
All right. So that will be, with the +3, a 23.
That does break it, as this creature sort of opens this vaguely frog-like mouth, and you see another tentacle thing come.
No.
And it tries to lash at you, and you just dodge out of the, or it gets a hold and tries to pull you toward it, and you just, no, and you release it from you. It is now Griffith's turn. Wait.
Thorgarn and Drown are at 17.
Yeah, I think I skipped Thorgarn. So we're just gonna go to you now, Thorgarn.
All right, Drown. I have a +1. What do you have for Dex?
You go right ahead.
Okay. So I'm in this thing's grasp right now, right?
Yep.
All right. So he reaches up and he grabs the necklace around I guess around his neck, and this intense focus comes over him as his ancestral spirits begin to float out amongst the party. I'm just gonna take my gun and just put it right up against him. Is this disadvantage, advantage, or just regular?
The grapple?
No, I'm just gonna shoot him.
Oh. You're grappled around the waist, so just regular.
All right. That is going to be a 15 and a 24.
They're both gonna hit.
So that is 26 points of damage. Bludgeoning.
All right, you were attacking the large form that has you grappled, correct?
Correct, sir, yes.
And as you strike it with your bullets strike it, every bullet that impacts this translucent creature makes a splorching sound. That's weird. Drown, you had the 17 too for...
Yes.
Why do I have you as a 6?
I do not know.
That's just going to mess everything up here. So, well, you're fine. You're fine. Let's just remind me that you go on his turn. So you are next.
Alrighty.
Or at the same time, I mean.
Okay, so as all this is going on, Drown throws off is this creature like goopy? Like it's kind of made out of this rainbow goo?
It seems to be this goop made I want to say sentient. We'll go with that.
Sure. All right, so after he throws that thing off of his chest, it was trying to grab him with its like tongue or whatever, tentacle from inside its mouth. Gross. He'll sort of look up at the professor up on his perch there, where he's singed and smoldering, shake his head and say, "We could have resolved this like gentlemen, but you have opted for death." And he slams his cane down into the ground, and river water pours out of the rocks at the professor's feet, swirls up in this spectral maw that looks like a giant, vaguely humanoid catfish with these long, whiskery feelers on its face, and slams around him. And you can hear this maw murmuring and chuckling. It has this deep, rumbling bass voice, and you can't make out any of the words, but it has a very decided, sort of thick Cajun-sounding accent. So I need the professor to make a strength saving throw, please. DC of 20.
That is going to be a fail.
All right, so he's restrained by the maw. It fills a 10-foot radius area, and at the start of his turn, he will take some damage if he's still in it. And then as a bonus action, I'll whip the cane up towards the creature, and another one of these watery spectral things will rise out of the cave wall. This is a giant crawfish claw that will snap at the tentacle that's holding on to Thorgarn.
All right.
That's probably going to hit. That's a 28.
That's going to hit.
So I'm going to smack this feller for 3 points of cold damage.
All right.
And I will be done.
All right, then we're going to go to Griffith.
All right, dear sweet goddess, help me protect my friends and get money for this new whitewashed church that I'm going to get once we get all this done. All right, so I'm sure they'll all donate to it. All right, so I'm casting Aura Vitality. So who's the most hurt?
Nobody's really taken a lot of damage yet.
I've taken 24.
How much? 4?
24?
Oh, you're taking 12. That's some damage. Okay, you heal 8 of that. All right, that's it for me.
All right. Cantriel, you're going to be next.
All right, Charlemagne's still up and kicking, right?
Well, he's caught up in this weird whelm of water. Accidental alliteration.
That was good though. Okay, so then, and the creature's still kicking around too, correct?
Oh yeah.
Or the tentacle things? Yeah. Oh yeah. So, I kind of want to shoot Charlemagne because I have my mark on him.
You can roll off the D&D Beyond sheet.
Yes, you can. Isn't that cool?
So he's not muted when he's supposed to be muted. I love it.
So, yeah, I have my 2 shots. So aiming at Charlemagne, Cantriel is going to say, "Blame it all on my roots. I showed up in boots and ruined your black tie affair. The last one to know, last one to show. I was the last one you thought you'd see there." And she's going to shoot the first one. Shut up.
Did you crit?
Hot damn. I saw the surprise and fear in his eyes.
Well, and the way we do crits here is automatic max damage, then re-roll any damage dice.
Holy crap. Hold on. I have to do the mathing. So that is, pardon me, folks, because I have a ridiculous amount going on here. So then that becomes 12 plus, not also with the D6, right?
Yeah.
So that's 48.
Any damage dice that you would roll, any damage,
right,
including dice and modifiers, is maxed.
Yeah, so then I'm looking at 48 right now on the first go around.
40.
And I need to add in
48, not 4d8.
Not 4d8.
Yep. And then you re-roll all those dice again and add to that. And you're attacking
Charlemagne. So shut up, I love my dice. So then that's going to be an additional 14 added to 48. For the first shot. I didn't mean to cause a big scene. Just give me an hour and then I tested you, said, honey, we may be through, but you'll never hear me complain, because that's going to be 25 to hit.
All right, hold on a second, because I missed the total damage you did on that.
So the first round was 48 plus 14.
All right, I need to get
for the first shot.
48 plus 14. So let me do it.
Oh, wait, no. Back. Hold on. I'm mathing wrong. See, I'm getting tired. I've been doing stuff too long. It's not that much because it is.
For once, you don't.
No, hold on.
You don't get to say you've been doing things too much. I'm on my 5th day of 15-hour days of streaming. So.
Dial it back. No, it isn't that much. It is 24 plus. So 28. Sorry, 28 damage plus 14.
All right.
And then the second one
was 25 to hit. Absolutely one.
25 to hit.
And
then that is 11 plus 15. That's 15 total, plus 19 plus, what's 19 plus 5? 20.
You're still aiming at the...
Still Charlemagne.
So here's what you see.
Oh, boy.
As you hit Charlemagne, while he's caught up in this weird realm of water, you strike him in the midsection, and you watch as his body seems to twist and contort in a very weird way. His top half is still caught in this weird realm of water. I can't stop saying it. His bottom half sort of moves through the realm a little bit differently. In a midsection, you see a small dwarf-like creature with very raggled beard and hair and cloven hooves sort of spin off dead as the other two are still struggling. Professor Charlemagne appears to have been 3 Corrids in a trench coat. You've killed one of them.
Oh, God. With the first shot.
You didn't see that one coming, Dan.
Hell no.
Sure didn't.
And it's literally on my notes as I think it's literally on there as this section is 3 Corrids in a trench coat. Yep. All right, what you got, Cantriel?
With the beards, that's great. Well done.
Was that the last of your attacks? You're muted. You're still muted.
I think he's saying his headset died.
No, I have
Oh, no.
I have a bonus action I can use now.
Oh,
and
okay.
It's perfect because it's Talmud. I've got friends in low places where the whiskey drowns and the beer chases my blues away. And you've got bardic inspiration, darling, and don't forget it's Valor. It's a D8 now.
All right, before we move on to the next person in this initiative order, I did tease an announcement, but it appears I'm still going to make the announcements, but it's sort of an after the fact announcement. We were so eager to give everything away. We already gave away what I was going to announce that we were giving away. So I'm just going to tell you who won it. This is on intern Dwight, who we made it up to where we made it with the total goals. So I will let him sleep in a real bed. He's still sleeping in the barn. But we did give away as our big final WizKids giveaway. We raffled off in the chat a falling star, the big ship. This thing is massive. It's on my wish list of things I want. And it was a regular to many of the mini terrain domain streams that won it. It appears our good friend Cajun Kevin has won that falling star. So congratulations, Cajun Kevin. And now we're going to return to our regularly scheduled boss battle. And next in the line is the remaining halves of Professor Charlemagne. And we just broke $21,000. We are at $21,057 with 20 minutes to go in this final battle. Thank you. I just missed it. Whoever donated it, I'm going to give you another domain die. As we move into this next session, this whelm that's capturing them, they have to take the damage at the start of the turn?
Right. So at the start of their turn, they are going to take the Crafting Muse and Dawnbringer's dice are being kind to me tonight. So that's going to be 15 lightning damage to each of them. And they can attempt to repeat the strength save to get out as an action.
Oh. They're considered restrained while they're inside here?
They're restrained. So they can still act and do other things, and they're not like drowning or anything because it's not actually water. It's all spectral. But yeah, so they're stuck in place there unless they want to spend an action to try and get out.
All right. So one of them is going to do that. That's going to be a 19 on the die. That makes it a 28 as it pushes itself out.
Yep, that'll do it.
The other one from inside, you see it angrily open its mouth and point at you, Drown. and you see bubbles, and you hear a muffled from in the water. And I need you, Drown. I'm going to open this in a new tab so I can read it, because I'm going to need you to make a saving throw. You are going to...
+3.
Wait. Choose one target you can see. Wait. It doesn't say saving throw.
Then it probably doesn't allow one.
The target... Oh, okay. For the duration. Do you have anything that prevents you from being charmed?
Oh, no. No, I do not. Uh-oh.
You begin
he can't be
dancing a
charmed.
comic dance in place, shuffling.
Wait, hang on. Am I within the aura of protection or the
Yes,
aura?
you can't be charmed when you're near me.
Ah,
Okay,
Paladins.
then nothing happens as you feel your feet begin to
I
lightly
want to
tap
dance so bad.
as you resist Otto's irresistible dance.
Oh,
Which
So
thank
apparently,
you.
Griffith is a Baptist priest.
Right?
I love it. I love it. All right, we're gonna move quickly into the next round here. Our next turn. I hit the button too many times for my chords. Drown, you already went. That's a holder. So they're Talmud, you finally get to go. Somehow I typed -4. I forget when you're in D&D Beyond, if you scroll the wheel, it works like a number wheel. And I think that's what messed up your guys' numbers. But I know you rolled the lowest.
It might as well be a -4. It's
Right. So it is your
that's-
turn.
That's apt. Okay, so where he's already got this 6-shooter drawn, is the thing still lashing its tongue out, trying to strike people?
So far, it's only attempted the one time on Drown. Because it's only gone once. We're still in the first round.
Okay, so he is going to have his other hand kind of back behind him as he's going to level Ghost Cleaver kind of in the direction of this beast. And I'm going to kind of take a bonus action and an action in one, if that's okay. He fires these 2 shots from his revolver, and as he does so, the bullets come out with these like spectral like faces kind of trailing behind them, and they kind of like make this like eerie moan sound as they come out of the end of the gun, and trail towards this creature. And as the gun smoke kind of comes back over Talmud's face, it falls over a different visage from Talmud's and kind of outlines and stays in place and starts to glow this blue color as he then kind of adopts this kind of stoop, and he starts kind of look at it. There's so much money that's just dripping out of the rocks right there. I knew I was gonna find it eventually. I knew it. He's gonna take his shots and see if they actually hit. Now the die rolls well. I'm telling you, Talmud can't do anything except hurt things. Okay, Ghost Cleaver is a 10. So that's a 26 on the first one.
You're attacking the big creature?
Yes, sir.
Yep, that's a hit. Your target is 14.
Okay, good deal. And then the second will be a 17 to hit as well.
So your shots again land with a splorching sound.
Beautiful. Let's see. This is a revolver.
Does it look like the shots are doing damage?
Oh, yeah. You're doing damage to it.
Okay. The first is going to be 10 and 9. You are okay with adding our rage bonus to
Sure.
firearm damage? Okay.
We've got like less than 15 minutes left in this game.
Perfect.
Add all the bonuses.
I love it. Okay. So it's going to be 19 points of piercing from the first one. It is
You've got
magical
8 domain dice. I'll even let you guys use domain dice to add extra damage if you want. Extra damage dice.
Extra damage. I just remembered. So The second one is going to be, the first one was 19. The second one's going to be 15 plus. I'm going to throw the Bardic Inspiration on there, which came up as an 8. And so that's 24 on the second one. So yeah, entering Rage as a bonus action and taking both attacks. And he's going to be moving forward, and he draws this bundle out from his satchel, kind of hanging on his back, and he's going to kind of keep that in his other hand.
All right. Well, that's going to put us back to the top of the order with Fig.
So what I'm going to imagine here, just narratively for a minute, we're going to shuffle things a little bit as we see this battle sort of playing out over the course of the next few minutes, dodging attacks. Occasionally you get hit. You learn that as this thing grapples you or gets a hold of you with its tentacles, that it not only does it do this damage, but it, from when it hits you, it burns. This stuff seems to have an acidic burn to it. And you're exchanging a few blows. There's some magic spells being fired off, and a couple of commoners. I'm going to say there's 20 commoners. One commoner is killed in the fray. It's an old man. He was 95 years old. So maybe I'm trying to justify it, and I feel bad doing it. You killed a commoner. There's no good way around that. However, now that we're at the top of the order, we're going to slow down the action as we're back at Fig, and I need you to make a charisma saving throw.
Oh, dear.
+3.
Okay, so then that's a dirty 20, actually.
You feel something was in your mind trying to pull at you, and you look and you see one of the two Corrids that was Charlemagne looking right at you and stroking its beard, and you feel a tingling in your beard, but you resist it. What would you like to do?
It was the eyebrows. Fig knows that.
It's the angry eyebrows.
Fig, so before I describe it, I want to see if anything happens. So this thing has to make a wisdom saving throw.
You going for the big thing or the Corrid?
The big thing.
Okay, the big thing. Wisdom saving throw. This will probably go really well. That's an 18. There's still 8 domain die.
Is it an 18?
Yes. Yep. 100% reroll.
That is a 8.
Yay. So, also just to double check, I'm sometimes bad with spells. Polymorph will work on this thing, right? Because it's not a shape changer or a creature with 0 hit points, and it is a creature.
Sure.
Is that
absolutely
right?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Sometimes I don't read things. Stay in school. Okay. So, I imagine that Fig all of a sudden takes out this very large lasso, and he begins to kind of go above his head and twirl it around again and again, and it gets larger and larger to be able to wrap around this creature, and he throws it, and it lands, and it traps this creature. And the strangest thing begins to happen as the lasso wraps around. It gets smaller and smaller and smaller around this creature until the rope can't really hold what is left anymore, which is a small little chinchilla.
Weirdly, it's a semi-transparent chinchilla that looks a little bit gelatinous, but is a chinchilla nonetheless. And as it sort of goes scurrying along the ground, It runs past one of the commoners, and you see this long tongue go, but it's so much smaller than the commoner. It just goes running, and it's sort of like a dog reaching the end of its chain. It just goes, and I threw my headphones off. All right. Well done. That thing is no longer a threat. Thorgarn.
All right. Well, I'm no longer grappled. Yay.
Nope.
So do I see the little bearded creature that, just tried to stare down Fig?
Yeah, he's very obviously up there. And I'm going to say at this point, during the battle, the other... well, let me see if he did. Nope. And somehow, how long does your whelm thing persist, Drown?
I believe it lasts for a minute.
He's caught the entire time. I just rolled a few dice rolls, and he couldn't get out of it. So there's one part of him that's just going... periodically trying to make you dance, and he's just getting tossed around in there, and you're resisting the irresistible dance. So yeah, you can see the other one is targeting, seems to be glaring at Fig.
I'm gonna shoot him. That is going to be a 15 and a 16.
Those are gonna miss. They don't so much miss as they seem to almost ricochet off of his beard.
It's an impressive beard you got there, sir.
I mean, we're talking about a creature who literally has an ability called Command Hair. All right. Looks like Drown, you're going to be up next.
All right, so there's still somebody caught in the maw currently?
You have one of them caught in if you're talking about your thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so then at the start of my turn, Drown siphons some of the life from it and gains 10 temporary hit points. Woo. Then I will, let's see, they're elevated, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I could launch a spell in a cone above the throng of people that I don't want to murder?
Correct.
Excellent. Then I will throw my hands out and point with the large, rough aquamarine gem that is the handle of the cane, and a spray of river mist will shoot out of it, swirl, and freeze into these jagged icicles in a cone of cold.
Whoa.
So all those chords up there need to make Constitution saving throws? Constitution saving throws.
That's going to be an 11 for the one and a 9 for the other.
That'll be 2 failures. So
that
we'll
will
take the full
indeed.
damage. And I will do it on the thing with the D&D Beyond and the dice, and they're on my screen. It's cool. Holy shit, that's a lot of 8s. That is 54 cold damage.
All right, 54 cold damage to each of them. Whoops. All right, that's a pretty significant amount of damage.
All right, that's my action. I'm good. Moving on.
The gelatinous chinchilla is running around, sticking its tongue to things, but is otherwise not doing anything. Griffith.
Yes, we will have none of this dancing here. So,
What are you, John Lithgow, all of a sudden?
apparently, yes. So we got one of those creatures on the ledge, slime chinchillid. Is there another one up there? Or just the chinchilla one?
There was only the one creature. The chinchilla thing was the big gelatinous-like creature. The cords, there's still the 2 of them up on the ledge.
Okay, that's what I mean. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. So Griffith is going to aim his golden gun, the Griffith with the golden gun, and he's going to aim his golden gun, and he calls out the name of Dawnbringer for the gun, and then everybody hears a oh! You like literally hear it. So he kisses the drum, spins it, and then points it at one of those cord things. Let's see what we got here. That is a 18.
That hits.
All right. And would they be susceptible to radiant damage?
I mean, you can do radiant damage to them.
Okay.
Sorry, that was a weird way to say yes. It has been a long week.
They take 14 damage.
All right.
And he spins the chamber again.
And there's another one up there.
And due to my godly connections, the bullet always spins to the chamber. So it's like it never spins to an empty chamber. It always spins to a bullet.
Sure, I love it. That's awesome.
And I think that's even better. That's a 21 to hit.
That's definitely going to hit.
Oh, that wasn't so good. Oh no, I guess it was. I'm sorry. 17 damage. I thought it was a 1, not a 7. Okay, 17 damage on that one.
All right. Yeah.
Okay, and who is the most hurt? Thorgarn?
I'm down 16.
Okay, let me help you out here. Because I have Aura of Vitality. And that will give you 6 more health.
Awesome.
Not great, but it's something. All right.
Kentriel.
And there's still those 2 little squirrely ones up on the ledge, right?
Yep.
Okay. Bonus action casting Hunter's Mark. I'm going to cast it on the one closest to me, so at least I can still use that because I can't shift my other thing yet. It's not down. So that is going to be a 15 to hit.
That is going to miss.
Oh no! Then I'm
7
going
domain
to...
dice.
I'm going to re-roll. Yes, I'm going to re-roll. Okay, that's gonna be a 19 to hit this time.
That'll hit. You're looking for a 17 on these guys.
Keep in mind,
17.
if you're shooting the one in the maw, it's restrained, so you have advantage. I don't know which one you're shooting.
I didn't really. Let's say the other one's in the maw, so we'll go for that one next. So this one's going to take on 14 points piercing.
All right.
And then shifting to the other one, if I can get some damage in on them. That is going to be 26 to hit.
Yeah.
9 points piercing.
All right. Believe it or not, these 2 halves, or thirds, I should say, of Professor Charlemagne are still alive.
Wait a minute. Quick question. If I cast the whole thing thinking it was 1 unit, does it count for all of them?
No. I was keeping track of which one you marked. He lied. I totally wasn't.
Totally a shell game.
It was, you marked the one that died.
I marked the one that died. Okay.
All right, so that's your turn.
That's all I can do now.
All right, it is their turn, and they are both going to angrily hurl insults at you in a mixture of Dwarvish, Gnomish, Sylvan, Terran, and Undercommon. So some of you are picking up on that, and they are vile. They compete with some of the things we've heard Talmud say. But they also reach over and they begin, the one begins grabbing at chunks of rock from the wall. The other one fails his strength saving throw to get out. He's going to try one more time, drown. Are you standing near Griffith still? Probably.
I am indeed, yes.
Yeah, so he's still trying to make you dance, and he's failing. He's really pissed at you. But he's going to hurl at Griffith 2 stones that he plucks off the wall. And that's going to be, Griffith, a 18 and a 11 to hit.
Misses.
These rocks explode like when Fezzik throws rocks at the man in black. And he says, I could have hit you if I wanted to.
Luz protects the faithful.
And it's Talmud's turn finally.
This bundle that he had pulled out from behind his back, he now kind of calmly holds up to his face, and we can see by the light of the cherry at the end of his cigar as it flares when he draws on it, you can see a fuse touched to the end of the orange that then kind of lights to life. And he's going to look at these 2 things, take his time as he pulls the cigar out and takes a big drag off of it, and then kind of casually pitches his arm up and over his head to throw the bundle of 5 sticks of dynamite.
Oh, you're throwing it at the cords?
Yes. If I have to move closer before I do so, I'll definitely do that. I don't know how far away they...
I imagine you just sort of narratively, you take a few, take a few steps to walk closer, lighting it and tossing it. So effectively, what is this?
Okay, so...
it's literally dynamite, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, it's out of the DMG.
Yep. Okay.
Each creature within 5 feet of that point must make a dexterity 12 saving throw, or they'll take damage. And because there's extra sticks attached, it does more damage and has a bigger radius.
What's the damage radius?
With 5 sticks, it's going to be the maximum of 20 feet.
And you said it's a dex?
Yes, it is. Oh. Can I add one more detail in there?
Yeah.
So as part of the tape that's kind of holding this together, the adhesive that's binding it, there's actually that silver bullet that's actually kind of taped to the outside of those sticks. That we kind of see it gleam in the light as it's kind of arcing through the air towards them.
Perfect. You send this arcing up in the air, and for some unknown reason, the one that is standing there that was the bottom half, still wearing the trousers of Charlemagne, it comes right at him, and he goes, "Phoom," and catches it. And then he looks down at it, and he goes, "Oh, shh." He disintegrates into rock. And in slow motion, we see in the explosion that silver bullet go through the whelm and right through the forehead of the one caught in that whelm. Unfortunately, this explosion has caused the entire area to begin to collapse. Dawnbringers, you are able to quickly gather all of the commoners together, minus the one that died. You get them all loaded up into the wagon, and you're able to quickly run the wagon out of this place as it begins collapsing. And the last thing we see is the Dawnbringers heading out of this collapsing ruin, a plume of smoke in the air as you running along, 6 bullets coming along behind you. And you've saved all of these people. Over time, you learn that Professor Charlemagne had been bottling the runoff from the old wizard's tower from all of his experiments and selling it as a magical miracle beard oil, which he was using to control the townsfolk. And you found plans that if you had not stopped him or them, that their intention was to sell their beard oil all over the caldera, taking control of whoever they could. Roll credits. That's the end. And that's the end of Jasper's Game Week. I do want to give a quick shout out because I didn't notice until I glanced at the thing that the very last donation we received during that game was from several of us, from a good friend of ours, Chad K, VO, our good friend Chad Nick, who said, thank you guys so much for doing this forever, and less than 3 heart. That last donation from our friend Chad has put us up to a closing total of $21,057. I'm going to try not to lose it. I already lost my composure a little bit in the break before this game, but this has been, it started on Saturday with Fenway running her kickoff game on D&D Beyond for some amazing people, Pat Rothfuss and Amy Lynn DeZura and Todd Kenrick and Satine, and I forget who else was in the game. But they started us out on what would turn into a daily average across 6 days of somewhere between $3,000 and $4,000. We ran 20 games. We had 20 dungeon masters. We had over 130 participants, counting dungeon masters, this week. Yes, I've made a lot of jokes about how I've spent 15 hours a day sitting in this chair producing this stream. I was just pushing buttons. I was doing what I do all the time when we run our games weekly. I just did it for a longer period of time. I could not have done what I did this week without people like Aaron and Fenway, Matt and Miles, Kai and Dwight, helping me out behind the scenes, running, especially during this game, running everything. I want to say a huge, just the biggest thank you to the Thread Raiders team. I didn't even know who they were like 2 weeks ago, and all of a sudden they are. I'm calling them a new companion channel to Mini Terrain Domain. I think we're going to be working together a lot. Dwight's going to be over on their stream tomorrow and Saturday, I believe. They are running some awesome bookend things that are still going to go into this same fund, continuing to raise money. And Dwight's going to be on there, I believe, on Saturday doing some mini painting with one of their painters. But the whole Thread Raiders team had so many people in the chat with us. Other people like DC Lasser, who was a moderator on numerous official Twitch channels, donated a lot of time. So many people donated money. There's so many people. I wish I could sit here and call all your names out, but I know I'll forget people. But it's because of all of those people that I was able to do what I did, pushing buttons and producing the streams, and bringing. I didn't mind sitting here for 5 days watching people play games. What you didn't hear was me, except the one day I left my mic hot during Amy Lynn DeZura's game, and everybody heard me gushing over the cosplay and the characters, and that's Amy, she's this, and that's so-and-so, until I get frantic text messages from Dwight and everybody. People were messaging me on Twitter, we can hear you. But I was just gushing to my family who had asked questions. But aside from that, you didn't hear me laughing out loud, listening in on every game, laughing along with the audience, cheering along with every donation that came in. The domain dice played a big part in every game. I love that Chris Perkins gave all of his players one die and kept them all for himself, and then rolled a crit against his players with a domain die. So many great memories. This week has been phenomenal. And it started last year. I mean, you heard at the break, potentially, just Aaron telling everything that happened, how this all started as a small movement, a small thing that was supposed to be a one-time thing. And I will never regret reaching out to Fenway and asking how we could help out, because we literally raised more with everything. That number you're seeing up there doesn't account for the other 12,000 we raised in additional donations that came in, and the raffles and auctions to get those seats at the celebrity games. That our actual total is closer to $33,000 this week. That's 5.5 times what we raised last year. And we already have, for everybody that was involved, we have that many more people that want to be involved next year, including people from around the world. So I'm just gonna say goodnight. I'm exhausted. I'm not gonna be on my computer at all tomorrow, so if you don't hear from me for a couple days, I'm fine. I'll be on my phone, but these are tears of thanks and being overwhelmed with your generosity. So from my heart to you, thank you, and good night.